So the agenda of this training includes introduction to Oracle GoldenGate, architecture. Now architecture is really very important. So we'll be discussing about architecture. So this agenda, what I have mentioned during the training, we are going to cover a lot more than that. GoldenGate installation, we'll be discussing download and installation both. So we'll be discussing designing, what are the requirements, what are the hardware requirements you need to follow, what are different concepts and components of Oracle GoldenGate, DML replication using GoldenGate, how to perform initial load using GoldenGate, data filtration and transformation. So GoldenGate has ability to filter out the data and transform the data as per your requirement. So say for example, on source you have 10,000 records in a table and you want to replicate only 5,000 particular records, or you want to replicate the data of a particular user, you can do that. So GoldenGate has capability to do that. Similarly, how can you transform the data between source and target? You can do that as well using Oracle GoldenGate. So how to do that, we'll be discussing. Bidirectional configuration, bidirectional auto CDR. So all the new features of GoldenGate are introduced. So automatic conflict detection and resolution, how GoldenGate does, we'll be discussing. Then DDL replication using Oracle GoldenGate. So GoldenGate supports DML as well as DDL replication. So DML, which requires exclusive commit. DDL transactions are the one which are changes, definition changes at the database level. So how to how to apply those, we'll be discussing that during the training. How to monitor the lag, how to troubleshoot issues. So during the training, we'll be simulating the scenarios, real-time scenarios, and we'll follow the troubleshooting approach. So the thing is, there may be 10,000, 100,000 issues in GoldenGate, or 10, 100,000 issues. But the what I always say is, if your strategy is proper, you can troubleshoot any issues. Not only in GoldenGate, but any technology we have in this world. So your approach to troubleshoot should be proper. So we'll be discussing about how to troubleshoot GoldenGate issues. Then what is GoldenGate checkpoint? So there are a couple of terms which I'll be discussing, which are common between database and GoldenGate. But remember one thing, one is data pump and second is checkpoint. So remember, until and unless specified during the training, it means that we are discussing about GoldenGate checkpoint and GoldenGate data pump. Then configuring GoldenGate security. Security is really very important because GoldenGate deals with data. GoldenGate is a product which deals with data. So it is really very important that security should never be compromised with. A tool can give you 1,000, 10,000 benefits, but if it cannot guarantee the security, no one is going to use that product. So GoldenGate has enhanced its security features. So what are those security features? What you can implement in your environment if you already have GoldenGate, we'll be discussing during the session. Then different parameters and parameter files of Oracle GoldenGate. So GoldenGate, each process in GoldenGate has a parameter file associated to it. So what are GoldenGate parameters? We'll be discussing. Then logdump utility to read the trail files. Performance tuning, how to do performance tuning, parallel replicate, heartbeat table, performance matrix server. These are the new topics of Oracle GoldenGate. Then we'll be discussing about, like, there are macros, obey file, obey command, include files, and lot of other things which we'll be including in our training and discussing. So today is day one. So day one session agenda includes introduction to Oracle GoldenGate, overview of Oracle GoldenGate, different types of architecture available in GoldenGate. What is Oracle GoldenGate Veridata? Different types of extracts and replicates. Setting up your virtual boxes and training guidelines. Then GoldenGate architecture we'll be discussing. What is GoldenGate certification matrix? How to download the GoldenGate binary. So it is really very important to know which binary you need to download when you are setting up GoldenGate. We'll be discussing about that. Then how to install Oracle GoldenGate. So installation of Oracle GoldenGate we'll be discussing. Then how deciding where to install GoldenGate and prerequisite to set up GoldenGate. So last two topics we'll be discussing if time permits. I have added them for the safety purpose, uh, but we'll be covering until installation of Oracle GoldenGate for sure today. Okay. So any question prior to we start from anyone? So
Yeah,
guys, if no question,
I have a
please
question.
keep your mobile phone down and we'll be discussing. Yeah, Giri, tell me.
Yeah. So, so before going to this, okay, so like so many people will have some kind of doubts, like how is the Oracle Golden Gate feature, and what's the career path, and what the people they don't have Oracle DBA knowledge. Suppose okay, the people come from other technologies like MS SQL Server or MS SQL, I mean MySQL, or for these people, like what you advise, like how is the career path for this Oracle Golden Gate in future?
Okay, so Golden Gate future, we all know, like everyone can see, right? Like Golden Gate in current scenario is must know technology for anyone. Like now, if we talk about 3 to 4 years back, it was like organizations were looking for DBAs having Golden Gate knowledge. But now the scenario have changed. Organizations, though there is a requirement for people having Golden Gate knowledge only. Even they are not working as a DBA. You can get a job as Oracle Golden Gate specialist. The reason being, like, there are a lot of Golden Gate is now acceptable. People know that what is the significance, what are the use cases of Oracle Golden Gate in different fields. You can use Oracle Golden Gate. Apart from that, the major thing is, in current scenario if we talk, Golden Gate is used for zero downtime upgradation and migration. So organizations or lot of things are going on wherein you can use Golden Gate for upgrading or migrating your database without having zero downtime, ensure
Ashish, you are
that
not audible.
organization doesn't have any data loss or any revenue loss basically. Another thing is, you are asking about future of, or like the DBAs who don't have knowledge on Golden Gate. As I mentioned again, even if you don't have knowledge, you can get the job as Oracle Golden Gate specialist. So
Yeah.
these are few
Okay.
questions, but let us start with the technical thing, and
Yeah.
moving
Okay.
forward, most of the questions will be answered.
Okay
Don't
then.
worry about
Yeah.
it.
Okay, Ashish. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so let us start our session now. So Oracle database architecture. So before we proceed, like Golden Gate is tightly integrated with the database. Golden Gate reads or receives the changes from the database, right? Always the source of Golden Gate is database. So if no database is there, Golden Gate doesn't exist. So for Golden Gate to exist or Golden Gate to work, it has to have source database. So when we talk about any database, like GoldenGate is a tool which works not only with Oracle, it works with heterogeneous databases like SQL Server, MySQL, Timestamp. It works with DB2. There are list Informix database as well. Like the support has been extended to Informix database, so the list is growing with each version or each day. So GoldenGate in today's environment supports most of the databases. Now, the thing is, each database has one thing in common, which is logs. So, how GoldenGate captures the data? What is the source of Oracle GoldenGate? Let us discuss. So, let us discuss about, first of all, Oracle database architecture. So, Oracle database architecture as a whole itself is a big topic. I think if we discuss it about 4 to 5 hours, that would be small as well. But in this session, we are going to focus on what is needed for Oracle GoldenGate. So, Oracle database architecture is divided into two parts: instance and Oracle database. So instance again is divided into two parts. One is memory components and second is background processes. So memory components include library cache, means shared pool, which is library cache, data dictionary cache, then database buffer cache, Java pool, redo log buffer, large pool, and to name a few. Then you have a background processes like pmon, smon, database writer process is there, log writer process is there, checkpoint, and then there are other processes. Then you have got under Oracle database, you have got data files, control files, and redo log files. So what happens is, so data files are the actual files of the data. So where the actual data resides. So say for example, on source you have, suppose when you do select star from employee table, so you get some information. From where do you get that information? That information comes from the data file. So data files contains the actual data from in the database. Control files are the critical files in the database which contains the metadata information. So metadata information is, so metadata information is really very critical. Like suppose if you lose control file in the database, then your database cannot come up. So database is, control files are the really critical files. Then you have redo log files. Redo log files are the files which contains the changes. Whatever changes are happening to the database, those changes are recorded into redo log files. So remember one thing, redo log file contains committed or uncommitted transactions both. So it contains any DML or DDL change, whatever is being made to the database. Now these backup of redo log files is taken on disk, and those are called as archive log files, because the size of the redo log files or the amount of redo log files is limited. Say for example, you have defined 25 MB redo log files, 6 redo log files in your environment. So total 150 MB of redo could be stored. So once the redo gets full, what happens? So the data from redo gets flushed into the archive logs. Archive logs resides on the operating system. So data gets written into archive log file. So you can say the backup of redo log files are the archive log files which resides on the operating system. Now, how does these redo log files get the data, or how does these data files get the data? So the thing is, you have got, so suppose you executed the command update, you executed an update statement in a table, and you updated a record. When you updated a record, it goes from data file to database buffer cache. Now when you update a record, it becomes a dirty buffer. It is called as a dirty buffer. Now before that change could be returned from database, you could be returned to the data file using the database writer process. Copy of that change gets written into redo log buffer, and then that information, whatever information has been written in redo log buffer, it gets returned to redo log file using the log writer process. So log writer process writes the data from redo log buffer to redo log file under four circumstances. Whenever there is commit, the data from redo log buffer will be flushed to redo log files, or when redo log buffer is 1/3 full. So suppose you have defined the size of redo log buffer as 100 MB. So whenever redo log buffer is 33 MB full, it will write the data to redo log files. Or when there is 1 MB of redo, or if there is 1 MB of redo, or every 3 seconds. And before database writer process writes the data from database buffer cache to data file. So these are the conditions under which log writer process writes the data from redo log buffer to redo log files. Now the question comes, why do we need the data to be returned to redo log file? So the main reason for data to be returned to redo log file is when in case of disaster, suppose you committed, I'll give you an example. You have right now $10,000 in your account. You went to the bank and deposited 200 $2,000 more. So the updated balance should be $12,000, right? However, the person at the front desk, she deposited the money in your account, but before the data could be reflected into the data, into the database, the bank database crashed. Now, before the updated balance in your account gets updated to 12,000, prior to that, your database got crashed. So what happens in that case is, to recover the transactions, recover the lost transactions, you get the data from redo log file. So redo log files are used for redo purpose. So whatever changes have not been applied to the database during the startup, the recovery is done from the redo log files to ensure that there is minimum or zero data loss. Okay, so redo log files are really very important files, and that is the reason your you have redo log files or log files present in every database. So in case of Oracle, these are called as redo log files or backup of redo log files, which are called as archive log files. In case of other databases, it is most of the database calls it as log files. Like when we talk about SQL Server, they call it as log files. In the same transaction logs, not log files, they call it as transaction logs. Similarly, MySQL, they call it as transaction logs. So transaction logs are nothing but which contains the changes being made to the database. Again, I repeat, remember, your redo log files contains the changes which happens to the database, and it contains both committed as well as uncommitted transactions. So it's not like there is I have seen people who think that these redo log files or backup of redo log files, which are archive logs, they contain only committed transaction. Guys, that is not correct. They contain both committed as well as uncommitted transactions. Okay, so now for Oracle GoldenGate, or when we talk about any CDC tool, so GoldenGate is a CDC tool. CDC stands for change data capture. CDC stands for change data capture. So change data capture means whatever changes are happening in the database, whatever data changes are happening, GoldenGate will capture and apply to target database. So any CDC tool, when we talk about, in fact with data guard as well, the source it always is these log files, redo logs or archive logs. Now in SQL Server, when we talk about these log files are called as transaction logs, or in MySQL it is called as transaction logs. So the ultimate source for GoldenGate is always these redo log files or archive log files in case of Oracle database, and in case of other database it is transaction logs of the database. So GoldenGate captures the changes upon reading the transaction logs of database and apply those to the target database. Now GoldenGate is a CDC tool. GoldenGate is a CDC tool. CDC stands for Change Data Capture Tool. Now GoldenGate was founded in 1995, and it is named after famous San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. It was founded as a standalone company. In 2009, Oracle overtook it, and since then it is known as Oracle GoldenGate. So until 2009, it was standalone. It was GoldenGate only. From 2009 onwards, it is called as Oracle GoldenGate. So Oracle GoldenGate is a product which is used for, which is a CDC product which captures the change data from the source database and apply it to target site. So there are various data replication tools available in the market. But why GoldenGate? The question comes, why GoldenGate? So what are the data replication tools available in the market? Like you have got EMC Recover Point, IBM Mirror, Hitachi TrueCopy, HP has its own product, Symantec Veritas, DataCore, Sense Symphony. These are some of the competitors of GoldenGate. Along with that, you might have heard about SharePlex and Affinity as well. These are the other products. I should not say popular product, but yeah, in case of this GoldenGate competitors, you might have heard about SharePlex and Affinity in today's scenario. Like the data share of GoldenGate in comparison to all other technologies is almost 95%. percent as of today when we talk. So the question which was asked about GoldenGate future, this also holds a significance here. So the thing is, GoldenGate's presence in current scenario is 95%. Like most of the organizations, most of the places, GoldenGate is used almost at 95%. So the future of GoldenGate, at least for next, means in, if you ask my opinion or as per my discussion with Oracle, they're quite upbeat about GoldenGate future for at least next 7 years. Yeah, after 7 years, you never know what happens because there may be rapid change. But yeah, they are quite upbeat because the thing is, regularly there are new things coming in the market, new updates. In fact, with GoldenGate, they're regularly upgrading new things so that it can remain relevant and its future is also good. So SharePlex, Activity, and these are the few data replication tools which are available in the market, but still GoldenGate is leader of the pack. Now, why GoldenGate? There are some technical reasons as well as financial reasons for it. Why GoldenGate? Like when we talk about GoldenGate right now, so why GoldenGate share is high? Why there is no other competitor of GoldenGate in the market? So one more thing before I proceed, why GoldenGate? One more question which I asked regularly is why DataGuard is not included here. DataGuard is also competitor of Oracle GoldenGate. What do you think? Is it, guys? Is it correct? DataGuard is also competitor of GoldenGate.
Y-
Not
Yes, of
Yes, it
course,
completely.
but it
is.
but it
But
doesn't
DataGuard
support
is
heterogeneous, right?
recovery process, and this is the replication. So DataGuard altogether, DataGuard the feature is different than the GoldenGate.
Abs- Absolutely,
Also in
absolutely.
data guard, you get everything sync. Versus in GoldenGate, you were saying you can have number of records sync from the source to
Absolutely.
destination.
And DataGuard is
Absolutely.
one to one because it's Oracle to Oracle. But
Yeah.
it's in GoldenGate it's heterogeneous, right? It can go to the any database, talk to any database.
Right, right, right. So, guys, you answered it well. So, the thing is, DataGuard is not competitor of Oracle GoldenGate. The purpose of DataGuard and purpose of GoldenGate is completely different. Like you can compare, I always say one thing, you can compare apple and you can compare apple with apple, but you cannot compare apple and orange, though both are fruits. In the same way, the GoldenGate and DataGuard, they seem to be like data replication tool, but yeah, their purpose or what they do is completely different. So like Mangesh, Kalim and others, they answered this very well. We'll be discussing going forward, you will be seeing the difference, what is the difference between the two. So we'll be discussing. So one of the major difference between DataGuard and GoldenGate is GoldenGate works on heterogeneous databases, but DataGuard works only Oracle to Oracle. Another thing is like DataGuard is it replicates, it's block by block replication. Like if anything happens on source, any change happens on source, it gets applied on target. Like even a table space or anything you discuss. But GoldenGate, it is not blocked by it. Basically, GoldenGate, I'll give you major difference between DataGuard and GoldenGate is GoldenGate DataGuard is database level replication tool. So basically, whatever happens at database level, DataGuard replicates that. However, GoldenGate is object level replication tool. So it works on objects. You will be seeing as we move forward. So it replicates the data from one table to another table. So say for example, you are executing, you are changing any parameter at database level. So if you have data guard, it will replicate that, but GoldenGate doesn't replicate that. Okay, so you'll see as we move during the session. Now, Mangesh has mentioned there is one more product, 5trans, which is getting very popular. Yeah, so 5trans is also being used in few organizations, not much again, but yeah, there is one more competitor of GoldenGate. You can say 5trans, which I see like in last 6 months. I have seen couple of clients using that. So that you can also include 5 months. Okay. So now the question comes, why GoldenGate? Why do you need GoldenGate? So GoldenGate, as I mentioned, like it is being used in almost 95% of implementation. But why? What is the reason behind choosing GoldenGate? So the reason is data is sent in real time with sub-second latency. So GoldenGate sends the data in real time. Like GoldenGate, see, there means when we talk about this, there are multiple factors involved here. But if everything is okay, if all the designing and setup is and configuration and network is fine, you GoldenGate replicates the data with sub-second latency, that is within near real time. Guys, one thing always remember, there are two terms, real time and near real time. So when you're speaking, I always say, like I have discussed with clients, so that's why GoldenGate is a near real time replication tool. What Oracle says is, Oracle terminology is, Oracle is a real-time replication tool. But guys, remember, there is nothing in this world which is real-time. There will always be a delay of 1 second, 2 seconds. So that is called as near real-time. So if you're talking in terms of technical terms to discuss within your team, you can say it's a real-time tool. But when you're talking like upon completion of this training, the expectation is you'll be sent out to the clients, you'll be working with clients. So remember, you should always use the term near real time. Never use the term real time. If you use real time, you may have some argument in that case. And later on, there may be some issues because real time means if once the data gets committed on source, at the very same moment it gets applied on target. Guys, always remember there is always some delay, whether it is 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, which is always called as near real time. This is just a tip for you for future purpose. So data is sent in. So this term, what I have, this line, what is there right now, you see data is sent in real time. It is Oracle's line, but it should be near real time, guys. Always remember this thing. So GoldenGate sends the data in near real time with sub-second latency. GoldenGate supports heterogeneous environment across different database and hardware types. So another thing is GoldenGate supports heterogeneous environments, like your source could be Oracle, target could be DB2. GoldenGate can replicate the data. Source could be SQL Server, target could be DB2. GoldenGate can replicate the data without any issues. Another
Yeah,
important thing is
Ashish.
Another
Yes.
important thing is GoldenGate supports different hardware types as well. Like your source can be on different hardware or platform, target can be on different platform. So your source can be on Windows, target can be on Sun Solaris. GoldenGate can replicate the data. Source can be Linux, target can be Windows. GoldenGate can replicate the data without any issues. Another important thing to keep in mind is GoldenGate also supports, like your source database can be higher version or lower version, and target database could be higher or lower version. So if your source is 19C, means I'm talking about database. So if your source database is 19C, target is 11G. You can replicate the data using GoldenGate. Your source could be 11G, target could be 19C or 21C. GoldenGate can replicate the data without any issues. So GoldenGate supports heterogeneous environments across different databases and hardware types. GoldenGate supports forward compatibility as well as backward compatibility. So another question which is being asked is, can we use different GoldenGate versions between source and target? Absolutely. So your source GoldenGate version could be 19C, target could be 11G. GoldenGate can replicate the data. Your source could be 12C, target could be 19C in terms of GoldenGate as well. So in terms of database as well as in terms of GoldenGate, both could be higher or lower version. GoldenGate can replicate the data. GoldenGate delivers high performance with low impact. Now, one thing I always say is, see, GoldenGate works on database. Now, it is external to database. This tool, GoldenGate, is external to database. Oracle claims it's zero impact, but trust me, guys, there is no zero impact. There is minimal impact of GoldenGate, which you may not find it, but yeah, the performance impact of using GoldenGate at the database level is very minimal. But the support or but the impact it has in terms of usefulness, it is very high. So it supports lot of things, lot of use cases are there. So high performance with low impact, ability to move large volume of data efficiently. So you can move your objects like large objects, blob, clob. In fact, now with so earlier, like until 11G, your IMPDP import export utilities had some constraints related to large objects. But now, in fact, with 19C or 21C, those are also, it means IMPDP, EXPDP compatibility has been raised a lot. They also support your large objects. So that's okay. But yeah, at that time, GoldenGate could replicate your large objects without any issues and no single point of failure. So troubleshooting GoldenGate is really very easy. Now, there are a couple of things. One is financial. So now the question comes, why GoldenGate? Why GoldenGate? Now, there are technical reasons. So technical reason involve what we discussed, like data is sent in real time with sub-second latency, support heterogeneous as well as homogeneous databases, high performance with low impact, ability to move large volume of data, no single point of failure. So these are the technical points. Now there are financial reason involved as well, because or means why GoldenGate share is huge. The reason being, lot of organizations, they sign end user license agreement with Oracle. End user license agreement. So remember, guys, one thing: GoldenGate is a licensed product, and licensing, guys. One thing I want to tell you here is any licensing question which I answer, or any licensing point which I raise during the session. Remember, it is based on my knowledge, but since the product is of Oracle, and if Oracle says anything, remember one thing: Oracle, whatever Oracle guys say, that will hold true. And you should contact your account manager for any Oracle account manager for any licensing question. But based on my knowledge, I'm saying that. So what happens is most of the organizations sign end user license agreement with Oracle. So in this, what happens is they are free. They include GoldenGate, and they are free to use GoldenGate on any number of database on any course, because GoldenGate licenses, if you don't if you don't get unlimited, they charge you per database and per database core as well. So in end user license agreement, again, it based on terms and condition, but generally it's like you can use GoldenGate in multiple databases, and course doesn't matter in that case. So if you are free to use GoldenGate in any number of databases projects, so what organizations do, because of value it brings on table, they use GoldenGate for multiple projects. That is why you see in current environment, the requirement of GoldenGate DBAs, or people having GoldenGate experience, it has increased multiple fold now. So GoldenGate has technical as well as financial reasons why organizations prefer Oracle GoldenGate. So Oracle GoldenGate complements existing Oracle products as well, like continuous availability for heterogeneous systems. So GoldenGate ensures that your databases are highly available. So say for example, your source database is resides in New Jersey, and target resides in Boston. You're replicating the data from New Jersey to Boston. Your means your primary site in New Jersey and secondary site is in Boston, and you are replicating the data from using GoldenGate. You're inserting some data, and suddenly there is power failure in New Jersey, or there is some disaster. Application cannot connect. So whatever data is there in New Jersey, Boston data, the database in Boston, the site in Boston contains that information. So what application can do is it can quickly switch over from New Jersey to Boston, ensuring the databases are highly available. So continuous availability of databases there. Then real-time access for reporting. Now another important thing is in banking and telecom domain, what happens is there are a lot of reporting jobs which runs on the primary database. I'll give you one example of State Bank of India. I was working with them. That was my one of the biggest project, guys. To be very honest, I learned a lot over there. So State Bank of India. It is for those who are not from India, they may not know, or they may be aware as well. State Bank of India is one of the biggest bank of India. Like when we talk about almost 10 years back, now there are private banks which provide a lot of good services, but State Bank of India is a government bank. So when we talk about 10 years from now, like 10 years before, State Bank of India was the largest bank at that time, and it was like the database size at that time was around 43 to 50 TB, 43 terabytes if I remember correctly. So what used to happen was they had their primary server kept in Mumbai, and their secondary server was in Hyderabad, India. So what they were using was they were replicating the data using data guard from Mumbai to Hyderabad. Now, they used to generate almost 100 GB or 500 GB of archives sometime during the nightly jobs between 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. They used to run some nightly jobs, and what used to happen was their data guard replication used to lag almost 72 hours, almost 3 days behind. So Mumbai to Hyderabad, data guard replication used to lag behind 3 days. Now suppose the problem was, suppose in Mumbai there is some power failure or flood or anything, the database is not available. Then in that case, there was no way to go to Hyderabad, right? So I did their analysis, got the requirement, and what I suggested them was to use GoldenGate to replicate the data from Mumbai to Hyderabad. And you won't believe I did the POC for them. It was a big project, but just to give you a short, just to let you in short, like once we did the POC, first we did the POC, we were able to prove that GoldenGate can replicate the data with maximum lag of 30 seconds because the data size was huge and the archive generation was huge. That's why their replication sometimes used to take 3 minutes as well, but not more than that. So we were able to prove that, and they used GoldenGate to replicate the data. Another important thing what it did was, because if you can recall, like around 10 years ago, State Bank of India was losing its customers because their server was mostly down or it was very unresponsive. Basically, it was not server, it was database which was unresponsive. The reason was what happens in telecom and financial domains is they run a lot of reporting jobs. And reporting jobs, when it runs with OLTP, so it consumes lot of resources, those reporting jobs. So what we suggested is they can switch there because now GoldenGate is replicating the data within 5 to 10 seconds at most. So what we suggested them was they can run their reporting jobs from Hyderabad server, ensuring that Mumbai server is reserved only for OLTP transaction during business hours. And you won't believe it helped them a lot. There was almost like the customer experience and the response from the database increased a lot after doing that. So you can use GoldenGate. So this is one of the use cases of GoldenGate as well. Like you can use GoldenGate for real-time data access for reporting purpose. That means you can access the reporting or you can get the reporting data from your replicated database. Then real-time data for business intelligence. So GoldenGate along with Informatica or ODI is one of the best business intelligence tool available in the market. So GoldenGate is used for business intelligence purpose as well. As I mentioned, I again repeat, GoldenGate along with Informatica or ODI is one of the best business intelligence tool available in the market. Then GoldenGate is also used for zero downtime upgradation and migration to Oracle databases and applications. So GoldenGate is used for real-time data. So GoldenGate is used for real-time data replication. Along with that, you can use GoldenGate for zero downtime upgradation and migration. So as I mentioned to you, like there are a lot of cloud migrations going on. So what organizations are doing, they are migrating their databases from cloud to on-prem, right? Or they are upgrading their database from one version to another version. So what they are doing is they are using GoldenGate so that there is zero downtime. That means application is not down even for a second. How this is done? They are using GoldenGate for that. So you can use GoldenGate for zero downtime upgradation and migration to cloud, on-prem, whatever you want to do. So GoldenGate now is used in all sectors. Like this figure what you see, it is quite old, this is not latest, but yeah, it is used by most of the commercial banks are using it. In fact, RBI, Reserve Bank of India, has made it a mandate to use GoldenGate in all banks. So almost all banks are using Oracle GoldenGate now. All ATM networks are using, financial data services companies, telecommunication provider, you name a telecommunication provider, it is using Oracle GoldenGate, like AT&T, British Telecom, Sprint, Vodafone. Everywhere GoldenGate is being used. So in all domains, GoldenGate is getting used. So Oracle GoldenGate solutions, as we discussed, is high availability. It ensures high availability of database. So suppose there one database goes down, application can quickly switch over to another database in another region, ensuring database is highly available. Zero downtime upgradation and migration. Live reporting. So because data gets replicated to target database in near real time, you can use that target database for reporting purpose and for business intelligence also. So GoldenGate along with Informatica and ODI is one of the best business intelligence tool available in the market. So GoldenGate supports capture and applied to different databases, and it also supports different platforms as well. So I'll share the certification matrix. This again, it these are few of the databases which I have listed, like Oracle, IBM DB2, SQL Server, Sybase, Ingress, Teradata, Enscribe. Different platforms like Windows, Linux, Sun, Solaris, HP, different versions are supported, and delivery to other databases is there. So next we are going to discuss, so this is about introduction and overview of Oracle GoldenGate. So we'll be discussing about architecture of Oracle GoldenGate and what are different types of architectures available. But prior to that, I'll open the question and answer session. So if you have questions, you can ask. So, but prior to that, there is one question which is there. If customer asks what could be near replication time in terms of duration, any benchmark timelines that can be say. So see, GoldenGate replication is dependent on processes, designing, analysis, and network. Ideally, GoldenGate should be able to replicate the data within less than 8 seconds or 10 seconds. Ideally. If it is not, then you need to so there can be some network issues, there can be some design gap as well. But ideally, yes, within 8 to 10 seconds, the data should be replicated. Okay. Any question from anyone before we proceed, you can ask.
Hey, Ashish, this is Clean. Uh,
Yeah, Khalid.
my question is, does GoldenGate support what we call non-relational databases as well, like Hadoop, MongoDB,
Yeah,
and
it
stuff?
supports. I'll share the you will get that answer from this. You will get okay. So after this session, you need not to ask this question to me. You can check it yourself. How it is done. Wait for I mean some time. You will get that answer.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Hi Ashish,
Anyone
I have
else has any question?
yeah.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, so I have a small question. Are we going to study initial load as well in this course?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. We will be doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So let us move forward now. So architectural overview. So this is 7 week learning GoldenGate classic architecture session. Now, what is classic architecture? What do we mean by classic architecture? Let us see. So there are two types of architectures in GoldenGate. One is classic, second is microservices architecture. So classic architecture is there since beginning of Oracle GoldenGate. Classic architecture is there since beginning of Oracle GoldenGate. Now, In 1995, as I mentioned, GoldenGate was founded. In 2009, Oracle overtook it. Now, from 2009 to 2017, there was only one way to configure GoldenGate, and that was through command prompt GGSCI. You must have heard about, if you have worked on GoldenGate, you must have heard about GGSCI. If not, you'll see during this session. Don't worry about that. GGSCI. So GGSCI stands for GoldenGate Software Command Line Interface. So it was the only way to set up, troubleshoot, configure GoldenGate command prompt. And this was called as Oracle GoldenGate until 2017. In 2017, this was renamed to Oracle GoldenGate Classic Architecture. It was renamed to Oracle GoldenGate Classic Architecture. And in 2017, August, right? If I'm not wrong. Yes, August. From GoldenGate version 12.3, GoldenGate launched a new architecture of GoldenGate as well, which is called as Oracle GoldenGate Microservices Architecture. Oracle GoldenGate Microservices Architecture. So there are two types of architectures or two ways to set up GoldenGate available now. One is classic, second is microservices architecture. Now microservices architecture is a REST API based architecture whose one of the feature is GUI as well. So you now have option to set up, troubleshoot, monitor GoldenGate through GUI as well. So microservices architecture is the latest architecture which is a REST API based architecture which allows you to set up, troubleshoot, manage GoldenGate through GUI as well. So now you have two types of architectures. One is classic and second is microservices architecture. So from GoldenGate version 12.3 onwards until 21c, you have got both classic as well as microservices architecture. Now the thing is, what is the difference between classic and microservices now? So classic architecture since beginning is available for both Oracle as well as non-Oracle supported databases. Microservices architecture until GoldenGate 19c was available only for Oracle database. Until GoldenGate 19c, microservices architecture was available only for Oracle database. For non-Oracle database, you couldn't use microservices architecture if you are using GoldenGate version 19c. But from 21c onwards, microservices architecture support has been extended to 5 databases, which includes DB2, MySQL, DB2, MySQL, MSSQL, and is it Informix database? I think. The support has been extended to 5 databases. I'm not sure if it's Informix or some other database. It is slipping out of my mind. I think it's Informix. I'll let you know. So from GoldenGate version 21c, now GoldenGate microservices architecture is supported for Oracle as well as 5 other non-Oracle databases as well. So the thing is, still if you see, the market share of classic architecture is very huge. It is almost 80 to 85%. Most of the organizations are still using microservices architecture. Sorry, classic architecture. The market share of microservices as of today when we talk is 50 to 20%, 15 to 20%. So it's not much right now. The reason could be organizations are not comfortable with microservices. Still it's new. It's not new, it is 5 years old, but there is not much awareness about microservices. Another thing is there are not many professionals available who have microservices knowledge. So that is another reason for not having like microservices presence is not much. But Oracle has planned to upgrade 40 to 50% of organizations by end of 2024 to microservices architecture. Also, another thing I'll tell you, from GoldenGate version 21C, classic architecture is deprecated. It means that it is not de-supported, it is deprecated. That means that no new feature of Oracle GoldenGate will be introduced for classic architecture. So microservices architecture is future of GoldenGate, but still classic architecture is most widely used architecture. So again, that answers another question is like GoldenGate is evolving its product, like Oracle is evolving GoldenGate a lot now, which ensures that the future of GoldenGate remains good. So that's why I said like future of GoldenGate for at least next 5 to 7 years, I can say it's good. And Oracle also claims that as per my discussion with them. Okay, so Oracle GoldenGate classic architecture is command prompt based and it is available for both Oracle as well as non-Oracle database. Microservices architecture is available from 12.3 version onwards, and it provides better integration with cloud applications. And another thing is like you must have heard the term GoldenGate as a hub. If not, don't worry, I'll be providing you all those information. So it becomes easier for you. Like classic architecture also supports hub architecture, but microservice with introduction of microservices, the term hub architecture has got more significance and more presence as well. Like it is getting promoted as well a lot, GoldenGate hub architecture. But guys, one thing let me tell you, the hub architecture you can create with classic architecture as well. It's not like you can only create with microservices. So that's not true. Okay. But yeah, the thing is, what I have heard or what I feel like is many people think that this hub architecture can only be done with microservices. That's not true. I'll show you what is hub means. I'll discuss what is hub if you're not aware and how do you set up that hub in classic. Then there is one more product in GoldenGate family which is called as Veridata. How many of you have heard about Veridata? I think if not, many of you have had discussion with me, right? So you must have heard from me as well. Okay, so yeah, Pankaj has mentioned GoldenGate 21C microservices supports DB2, SQL Server, Postgres. So guys, it's not Informix, it is Postgres. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So total 5 databases: Oracle, DB2, MySQL, MS SQL, and Postgres. Yeah, I was on. Okay. Okay. So how many of you have heard about the product called as Veridata? Many of you must have heard from me only, right? So Veridata is a product, as the name suggests, it verifies the data. It verifies the data for you. So say for example, on source, you have 10,000 records. So say for example, you're replicating the data from department table on source to department table on target. Now there are 10,000 records on source. This table is getting replicated for last 10 years. There are 10,000 records on source and 9,000 records on target. So what Veridata can do for you is it can identify the discrepant records for you, like those 1,000 discrepancies which are there, and it can repair those for you. So basically it can get both the databases into sync as well. That is the advantage. So Veridata verifies the data between source and target, identifying the data discrepancies and repairing them as well. Along with that, Veridata is getting very popular nowadays due to these cloud migrations going on. So organizations want to confirm whether their data is in sync or not upon migration. So Veridata is getting very popular nowadays. So Veridata is a product which verifies the data for you and it can repair the discrepancies as well for you. So Veridata, another thing is like certification as well. In certification, Veridata contains 10 to 15% of questions. GoldenGate certification. So if you're looking to be GoldenGate certified, this Veridata is really must learn tool. Like many job openings nowadays, I see they means not nowadays, like for around 2 years I see They are looking for people who have specific very data administration knowledge. So Veridata is getting very popular nowadays, maybe due to these cloud migrations or due to its feature for verifying the two databases. Remember, guys, one thing, Veridata is a product which is known, its full name is Oracle GoldenGate Veridata. But the thing is, it's not, it can work with like any multiple databases as well. So another thing is like it can check the data sync between databases like DB2 and DB2, MySQL, Postgres. It works on those databases as well for you. Okay. So two types of architecture in GoldenGate, which is called as classic and microservices, and then there is a product called as Veridata. Remember, guys, one thing: Veridata is separately licensed product. So if you have GoldenGate license, it doesn't mean you can use Veridata. For Veridata, you will have to buy a separate license. But what is the price of license? I know it is costly, but how to buy or what are other details of buying the license, that you will need to contact Oracle account manager. So I can give you the technical knowledge, all the technical knowledge you will get, but any financial things which comes, because see, the reason being, we have to understand the product is owned by Oracle and sold by Oracle. So if there are any question which are related to finance, then it needs to be covered by Oracle. Now, there are two types of architectures in GoldenGate. One is classic, second is microservices. Now, what I have seen people getting confused is with the introduction of classic or microservice, sorry, with the introduction of microservices, does integrated no longer exist? With the introduction of classic, does integrated no longer exist? This is the most common question which I receive. So, what do you think? Or first of all, how many of you have that question that with the introduction of microservices, integrated no longer exists? Does anyone else has that question?
Class.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
What do you mean by integrated approach?
Yes, so Pradeep, that is the question, right? The question is with the introduction of microservices, does integrated no longer exist? What do you think?
What is integrated, Ashish?
Okay. So if you haven't heard about that, that's okay. So guys, okay, for those who haven't heard about that, you will understand it in next half an hour. Like that would be clear. So don't worry about this question. But some of you may have that question. Okay, so I'll move forward and discuss. So there are two types of architecture. One is classic and second is microservices. Now in GoldenGate captures the data and applies the data. So for capturing the data in GoldenGate, you have got extract process. For applying the data, you have got replicate process. So we'll be discussing about GoldenGate architecture in next slide. But just to let you know, there are different types of extracts and replicates available in GoldenGate. So there are two types of extracts. Extract is the process which does the extraction part, which extract the data or capture the data from source database. Replicate process applies the data to the target database. So there are two types of extracts. One is integrated extract and second is classic extract. So just to give you a brief idea, when GoldenGate was launched, there was only extract and replicate. There was only one type of extract and one type of replicate. Until integrated extract was introduced, it was called as extract. But when integrated extract was introduced from GoldenGate version 11 to 04, the existing extract was renamed to classic extract and they launched a integrated extract. So integrated extract is available from GoldenGate version 11 to 04 and database version 11 to 03. In some of 11 to 03, it does not work. It means it works on a particular patch. So the database version, guys, please you on mute if you're not speaking. Okay. So thank you. So different types of extracts and replicates. So there are two types of extract, integrated and classic. So integrated extract is available from GoldenGate version 11.04 and database 11.03. Oracle database. So integrated extract, one thing is it is available only for Oracle database. Okay, classic extract is available since beginning of GoldenGate and it is still being used. Classic extract is available for any non-Oracle databases as well. Remember one thing, if you are using multi-tenant architecture, or if you have multi-tenant databases, you can use only integrated extract or replicate. You cannot use classic one in that case. Okay, so if you are using multi-tenant, you have to use, or you have only option to use integrated extract. So two types of extract, integrated and classic extract. What is the difference between the two? We'll be discussing about that. Now, so two types of extract, integrated and classic. Now different types of replicates are there. There are four types of replicates now. Non-integrated or classic replicate, integrated replicate, coordinated replicate and parallel replicate. These are the four types of replicates which are available in Oracle GoldenGate environment. So again, classic replicate is the one which is available since beginning of GoldenGate. Integrated replicate is available from GoldenGate version 12.1 and database version 12c. So if you are using GoldenGate version less than 12.1 or database version 12 less than 12c, you cannot use integrated replicate. You will have to use only classic replicate. Then from GoldenGate version 12.2, coordinated replicate was introduced. So coordinated replicate is the one which was introduced to increase the performance of classic replicate. So coordinated replicate runs the classic replicate in multiple threads. It runs it in multiple threads. So basically to improve the performance of classic coordinated replicate was introduced. But from GoldenGate version 12.3, a new type of replicate has been introduced, which is called as parallel replicate. So parallel replicate is a game changer. It is really very fast performance wise, and it is of two types. One is parallel non-integrated replicate and second is parallel integrated replicate. So basically the first two replicates which you saw, non-integrated and integrated, those are now part of parallel replicate. So you have parallel non-integrated replicate and parallel integrated replicate. So what does parallel replicate do is, parallel replicate runs the multiple threads of same process. Multiple threads of parallel replicate runs the multiple. It basically runs the what how it works parallel replicate. I'll discuss during parallel replicate session. But just to give you a brief overview, in parallel replicate, multiple what should I say, multiple threads of your I'm not getting the term exactly. Mm,
Channels, multiple channels.
you can say that multiple channels of your classic or non-integrated or integrated replicate runs. So parallel replicate runs the integrated non-integrated replicate in parallel mode. So it is almost 5 times faster than its contemporary replicate. So when you compare parallel non-integrated or non-integrated replicate, your parallel non-integrated replicate is almost 5 times faster. Similarly, parallel integrated replicate is almost 5 times faster than integrated replicate. Now to use the parallel non-integrated replicate, the database version has to be 12.1 and GoldenGate version has to be 12.3. For using parallel integrated replicate, the database version has to be minimum 12.2 and GoldenGate version has to be 12.3. if it's lower, anything is lower, you cannot use the parallel replicate. Okay. Okay. Any question on architecture or different types of extract and replicate before I proceed to Oracle GoldenGate architecture?
Ashish, how
You say
coordinated
multiple
replication?
processes. Okay. Okay. So the thing is multiple processes. Yeah. So the exact term is in parallel replicate, your multiple processes runs internally. Okay. Yeah. Question was there. Sorry. Someone
Yeah,
had
how
question.
coordinated replicate work, Ashish? I mean, it's parallel, I understand. How the coordinated replicate, is it working in a serial way?
So coordinated replicate basically was introduced to improve the performance of classic replicate. What happens in classic replicate is multiple threads of say, classic replicate run. So what happens is, say for example, you have 1,000 rows to be replicated from source to target. So what happens is coordinated replicate will, say for example, you run 3 threads in coordinated replicate. So what happens is thread 1 will take care of transactions from 1 to 333. Thread 2 will take care of transaction from 334 to 666. And remaining transactions will be taken by thread 3. So it ensures that like multiple threads of your classic replicate is running. That is coordinated replicate.
Okay.
So coordinated replicate was introduced to improve the performance of classic replicate. But with introduction of parallel replicate, coordinated replicate is like, I don't see it as being used much.
Okay. So while
Parallel
defining designing these threads will define in the parameter files, right? Like, okay, we are using 4 or 5 threads. Uh,
exactly.
okay.
Everything in GoldenGate is parameters, and you define those parameters in parameter files. So how GoldenGate works, you will see as we move forward, as we do the setup, you will understand that part. Everything in GoldenGate is parameters, so you define everything in parameter file. Ah, correct.
Good. Thanks, Ashish.
Yeah.
Ashish, I have a question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Neeraj.
Is there any kind of what do I say, a matrix or something wherein, like what I want to ask is like classic capture will work with integrated replicate only, or it will work with in classic replicate? Is there some kind of matrix for that, or each one can work with any kind of replicate or
You
capture?
can, so the thing is, you can replicate the data. Your source can use classic extract, target can use integrated replicate, or your source can use integrated replicate, target can use classic. Your source can use integrated extract, target can use parallel non-integrated. Anything will work. See, in GoldenGate, you will understand when we move forward. GoldenGate, your source and target are completely separate. As long as it is database supported and GoldenGate supported, you can use anything. So your source is independent, target is independent. Remember one thing. It's only the version dependency is there. So
So
like
irrespective.
your target doesn't know whether the data extraction has been done by integrated extract or classic extract. Similarly, your target replicate doesn't know your source extract doesn't know whether the target which is applying the data to target has integrated extract or classic extract, or it has, sorry, your source extract doesn't know whether the target has classic replicate or integrated replicate or coordinated replicate or parallel replicate.
Okay, so basically it means that the files that are getting generated by the capture process are the same, irrespective of the process that is chosen.
Exactly. You will get that answer. So you have hit the nail correctly. Absolutely
Okay,
correct.
and
So the answer to
one,
your question
yeah,
is absolutely correct.
and just related to that again, so this is also irrespective of whether our target is an Oracle database or it's any heterogeneous database.
Absolutely. So the thing is, that is another good point you made. Let me tell you, this integrated extract only works with Oracle database. In the same way, your integrated replicate only works with, I think, coordinated means coordinate means integrated and parallel replicate only works with Oracle. I think coordinated also only works with Oracle, if I'm not wrong. So for non-Oracle database, you can only use classic extract and or non-integrated extract. or non-integrated replicate.
Replicate. Okay. All right.
Ashish,
Another thing,
uh,
guys, is this makes me answer one more question is like your source database source could be on using classic architecture and target could be using microservices. That is absolutely okay. Your source can have microservices, target can have classic architecture. That will also be supported. Okay.
Ashish, I have two questions. One is like you said, like the classic architecture is going to be deprecated 21 onwards. So what do you mean by that? Like it doesn't work, or like Oracle stopped supporting it?
No. So deprecated means it is still supported, but no new feature will be introduced after
Okay,
21. So that means
yeah,
like new feature, any new feature they are going to introduce, it will only be introduced for microservices, but not for classic.
no
Classic is
patches as
they cannot de-support classic. The reason being, in my opinion, it will still take 5 years to or 6 years for them to remove classic architecture completely because most of the places, like I'll tell you, I work on GoldenGate projects. I still see almost 80, 85, 90% places classic is used and almost new configuration as well. I try to pitch microservices for it, but they still like 70% of places they still go with classic architecture because I know I'll tell you why. The reason is the people who decide those as well, like the solution architect as well, they don't know much about microservices still. So that is the reason. So they cannot de-support classic architecture for at least means that is my opinion. Like at least for next 5 years, classic is nowhere to go.
yeah. One more question, like you mentioned, the different varieties of extracts and replicates, right? I'm assuming like we are going to do, we will be using 19C in labs. Is that true?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So are you going to cover all these scenarios here, all these types
Yeah.
in the
We'll be
lab?
discussing.
Okay,
Yeah. We'll be
okay,
discussing.
okay, got it.
Okay.
Ashish, just can brief about the what is the difference between the integrated extract and classic extract?
That will be answered for you in next few minutes for you.
Okay, great.
Okay. So let us now move forward. So guys, these types of extracts and replicates, whatever we say see here, these are available in both classic and microservices. So in classic, you can use integrated classic, and microservices you can use integrate, non-integrated, integrated, coordinated, or parallel replicate. Everything is available in both. Okay, now now comes the actual architecture of GoldenGate, just like the database architecture. Like I always say one thing, like when I started my database career, when I took my first training, my teacher told that to me for database, that if you understood Oracle database architecture, you have completed 50 to 70% of Oracle database. For GoldenGate, it holds same. For GoldenGate, the Oracle database architecture is too much deep. Oracle GoldenGate architecture is not that deep, but yes, if you have understood Oracle GoldenGate architecture, trust me, like you have done almost 70% of GoldenGate. Whenever you have to troubleshoot, set up, configure GoldenGate, anything in GoldenGate you have to do. Everything you can do based on the architecture. So this architecture is really very important and you should know that. So in GoldenGate, you have source database and target database. Source database can be any database like Oracle or any supported non-Oracle database. In the same way, target could be Oracle or any non-supported, any supported non-Oracle database. Now, each database has its own transaction logs. In case of Oracle, these transaction logs are called as Oracle redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as transaction logs. So you have GoldenGate capture process. Remember, guys, one thing: capture process is also called as extract process. So going forward, when we use the term capture or extract, it means same. They are used interchangeably. So you have got GoldenGate capture process, which reads the data from the transaction logs of the database and captures only committed transaction. Guys, you remember I mentioned that your transaction logs contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. So you configure GoldenGate capture process, which captures the committed transactions only and writes them to the trail files on local machine, which are called as local trail file. So GoldenGate capture process captures the data from source database, writes them to the trail file on local machine, which are called as local trail files. These trail files are binary format files. Okay. Now these trail files resides on source side right now, and trail files residing on source are called as source trail or local trail. Once the data becomes available into this local trail, capture process captures the data, writes the data to local trail. Once the data becomes available into local trail, there is GoldenGate data pump process, which sends the data over TCP/IP network and writes it to trail file on target machine. So capture process captures the data, writes the data to local machine, which are on the in the local trail file. These trail files resides on operating system. Once the data becomes available into trail file on local system, these files are called as local trail file because they are local to the source database. Now, once the data becomes available into local trail file, GoldenGate data pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to trail file on target machine. These trail files, because they are remote, because they are on remote machine to source database, hence they are called as remote trail files. So trail files residing on source database system are called as local trail. Trail files residing on remote or target database system are called as remote trail file. Once the data becomes available into remote trail file, there is GoldenGate replicate process or delivery process, which applies the data to the target database. Which applies the data to the target database. So again here as well, your delivery and replicate are the terms which are used interchangeably. So going forward, if we are using term delivery or replicate or apply as well, it means same. It means these are the terms which are used interchangeably. So delivery process or replicate process reads the data out of your remote trail and apply it to target database. So I again repeat, capture process reads the data from the transaction logs of the database and captures only committed transactions. Once it commits those transactions, it has to store it somewhere. So it stores it or writes it to the file on local machine, which are called as local trail files, which consume space or hard disk memory on operating system. Once the data becomes available into local trail file, data pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network and writes to trail file on target machine, which are called as remote trail file. As soon as data becomes available into remote trail file, there is GoldenGate replicate process which reads the data from remote trail and apply it to target database. Now remember here, there are three processes involved for GoldenGate replication. First is extract or capture process, second is data pump GoldenGate process, and third is replicate or delivery process. So extract process does the extraction part or capture part. Pump process sends the data over TCP/IP network, and replicate process applies the data to the target database. Now, remember one thing here, pump process does not transfer the trail file over TCP/IP network, guys. That is a misconception. I again repeat, trail file does not transfer the trail files over TCP/IP network. Trail file pump process reads the data from the trail files, local trail files, and send that data over TCP/IP network to write that to remote trail file on target. So pump process does not transfer the trail file, but it transfers the data which is returned into that local trail file to remote trail file. That is why GoldenGate is near real time. So as soon as capture process captures the data, it's write it to local trail. As soon as data becomes available into local trail, data pump process will read it, send it over TCP/IP network, and write it to remote trail. As soon as data becomes available into remote trail, the replicate process will read the data from remote trail and apply it to target database. So I again repeat, there are three processes involved here: capture, pump, and delivery. Capture process captures the data, writes to local trail. Pump process reads the data from local trail and writes it to remote trail. And then replicate process reads the data from remote trail file and writes it to target database. Pump process does not send the trail file over TCP/IP network. However, it sends the data return into local trail file to remote trail file. One more thing you have to keep in mind, this is really very important to note point, is each process in GoldenGate has a source to read from and a target to write to. So the capture process source is transaction logs of the database and target is local trail. Pump process source is local trail and target is remote trail. Replicate process source is remote trail and target is target database. So each process in GoldenGate has a source to read from and a target to write to. So capture process source is transaction logs of the database and target is local trail. Pump process source is local trail and target is remote trail. And replicate process source is remote trail and target is target database. So GoldenGate also supports your bidirectional replication. This is another difference between DataGuard and GoldenGate. So DataGuard only supports unidirectional, but GoldenGate also supports your bidirectional replication. So in bidirectional, it means that both the sites can be live. So application can be connected to both site A as well as site B. So what happens, whatever transactions happens on site A, it will be replicated to site B. Similarly, whatever transactions happens on site B, it will be replicated to site A in case of bidirectional. So in bidirectional, what happens is, now I always say one thing, consider bidirectional as two-way unidirectional with some considerations. What are those considerations? I'll be discussing during bidirectional topic. But bidirectional, now you consider you are replicating the data from site B to site A. So what you will be doing, site B will have its own transaction logs, right? So we will configure so whatever changes application is making. So bidirectional means application can be connected to site A as well as site B. Whatever transactions are coming on site A, they should be replicated to site B. Similarly, whatever transaction are coming on site B, they should be replicated to site A. So now in site B database, whatever transactions are coming, you will be configuring GoldenGate extract process, which will write the data to local trail on site B. The pump process on site B will read the data from local trail and send it over TCP/IP network and write it to remote trail on site A. Once the data becomes available on site A site in remote trail, the replicate process configured on site A will apply it to site A database. So bidirectional is nothing but two-way unidirectional with some consideration. So you have got capture process or extract process, capturing the committed transactions, writing data to the trail file on local machines, which are called as local trail. Once the data becomes available into local trail, GoldenGate data pump process will read the data from local trail, send it over TCP/IP network and write it to remote trail on target. As soon as data becomes available into remote trail, the GoldenGate replicate process will read the data from remote trail and apply it to target database. And in the same way, your bidirectional would work. Your capture process configured on site B will read the data from transaction logs. Remember guys, one thing, the term committed capture process only captures the committed transactions, remember. Hence, the local trail file will always have only committed transactions. As a result, the transaction which would be applied by replicate process upon reading the remote trail will only be committed. So data whatever is being applied on by the replicate process, it is all whatever capture data is capturing. Whatever capture data, whatever capture process, whatever data capture process hasn't captured, it cannot be replicated by the replicate process at all. Okay. So now, as we discussed, there are two types of extracts. One is integrated and second is classic. What is the difference between the two? Let me discuss with you. So the difference between the two is, you see here, this is the classic extract. First of all, I want to discuss. So classic extract is the one which reads the data directly from the transaction logs. So here what happens is, in classic extract, you have got GoldenGate extract process. Now GoldenGate extract process in case of classic extract, it directly establishes the connection with the source database. Okay, and it reads your transaction logs in committed, it reads the transaction logs in sequential manner and captures the committed transaction, and once it finds those, it writes them to the local trail file. So in classic extract, what happens is, the extract process establishes the connectivity with source database directly. However, integrated capture, which was introduced from GoldenGate version 11.204. What happens in case of integrated extract is, integrated extract does not establishes the connectivity directly with source database. What happens is, whatever transactions are happening in the database, those transactions gets written into the redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as archive logs. The backup of those transactions, the copy of those redo log transactions or archive log transaction gets returned into the log miner database. So as soon as you register the extract process, your log miner gets created automatically. So you don't have to do it anything manually, guys. But yeah, so what happens here is, in case of integrated capture, what happens is, copy of whatever changes getting returned to your redo logs or archive log, the copy of those changes gets written into the log miner database, which is internal to the database. Now log miner process or log miner database then passes on the changes to the extract process in form of LCRs. LCR stands for logical change records. LCR stands for logical change records. So what happens in case of integrated capture is, from source database, whatever changes are happening, those changes gets written into redo logs or archive logs. The copy of those changes gets written into log miner database. Then log miner passes on the changes to the extract process in form of logical change records, which is LCR. So here now in integrated capture, integrated extract is not interacting directly with source database. However, here what was happening, the classic extract was establishing the connectivity with source database, and because it is external to the database, like it had some impact, and performance wise it had some delay. However, integrated extract is much faster than classic extract. Now my question to you before I proceed, the performance of integrated extract, I'll tell you, like it's almost 4 times, 3 to 4 times better in my personal opinion. I have tested it. So, but in integrated extract, there is one more layer in between of log miner. However, the classic extract, if you see, Classic extract is directly establishing the connectivity with the database. There is no more layer in between. But in this case, logminer is a utility, or there is one layer in between. But still, how come the performance of integrated extract is faster than classic one? Anyone would like to answer it?
Yes, Ashish, because coming to the classic, it need to read the entire the transaction logs. But whereas I integrated extract, it is already filtered and directly reading the data. So in that way, performance is high compared with that classic.
Okay, and who is filtering those transactions?
Here logminer, right? Here logminer
Okay,
online.
very good answer,
Yeah.
Rama. Very good answer. So the thing is, guys, you have to understand one thing. Anyone else would like to add anything in this, or does everyone agree to Ramakrishna? So what Ramakrishna said is absolutely correct and the perfect answer. Anyone else want to add anything? Or
I have a
so guys,
question.
wait. Pradeep, wait. I haven't answered it completely. So please answer my question, but don't ask any question right now. So do you have any answer for it, for my question
No,
as
I
of
don't
now?
have answer. No,
Okay.
I don't have an answer. Yeah.
Okay. So hold your question then, if you can. If it's urgent, please post in the chat window. And if I think that I won't be answering it, so I'll answer. Otherwise, subsequently it will be answered for you. Don't worry. Okay. So the thing is, my question was, I again repeat, means the classic extract, what it does is it establishes the connectivity with source database directly and captures the transaction and then write to local trail file. However, in case of integrated capture, there is one layer of in between, which is logminer. Logminer receives the changes. Logminer is the copy of the changes which is happening at the database level. It is copy of redo logs or archive logs, and then it passes on the changes needed by the extract process in form of LCR. So my question is, how come the performance of integrated capture better than classic capture, even though there is one more layer of utility in between in integrated capture? How can the performance be faster? So the answer to your question, which Ramakrishna absolutely answered well, the answer is, like, in case of classic extract, what is happening is, guys, please keep yourself on mute if you're not speaking. Gree Mangesh, thank you. Okay, so in case of classic extract, what happens is your classic extract reads the transactions in sequential manner. So say for example, you have 1,000 records, you have 1,000 schemas in source database and 10,000 tables. Okay, and you have got sys and system schema as well, of course. Now your redo logs or archive logs will contain the changes which are being made to these 1,000 schemas, 1,000 tables, and sys and system schema, or any other database related schema, right? So all the changes will be present in these archive logs, right? However, in GoldenGate parameter file, you have mentioned that you want to capture the data of only one schema, which is GG training 1, and out of that only two tables, GG training 1 and GG training, means DEPT1 and EMP1. So what happens is, like, in GoldenGate extract, you want to capture the data of only two tables, DEPT1 and EMP1. However, your archive logs would contain the data of all 1,000 schemas, 10,000 tables, and system schema. So suppose you have got 1,000 transactions related to sys, 1,000 transactions related to schema 1. After that, you have got 10,000 transactions related to schema XYZ. Then you have got 100, you have got two transactions related to GG training 1. .dept1. Then again you have got 10,000 transactions for sys and system. Then again you have got 2 transactions for GG training 1.emp1. So what happens in this scenario is, in case of classic extract, what will happen is classic extract establishes the connectivity with source database directly, and it reads the transactions in sequential manner. So what happens is the classic extract will read first 1000 schema transaction. It finds that it is not related to it. It will not capture. Again, then it will read next 10,000 transaction related to schema 1, then 10,000 transaction related to schema XYZ. Again, those are not the one which are meant to be captured. It won't capture, but it has to read, because in between there can be any transaction related to the tables which it has to capture. Then it will find 2 transactions related to DPT1 and then it will capture it. Then after that again, it will find 100,000 transactions related to system schema. Again, it will scan them one by one. And then again, after that, it will find 2 transactions related to EMP1. So in case of your classic extract, it reads the transaction logs one by one in sequential manner. In case of integrated extract, the same thing what classic extract is doing, it is done by the log miner. So log miner does this task of reading the transactions internally, and then whatever transactions are needed by the extract process, like these 2 transactions and these 2 transactions, it will pass on these transactions to the extract process in form of LCRs, logical change records. So the difference between classic and integrated mainly is whatever work was done by classic extract of filtering out the transaction, whatever it has to capture from the transaction log, it is done by the log miner process in integrated capture. Now because log miner is internal to the database, it is faster. However, classic extract, because it is external to the database, GoldenGate is a tool which is external to the database. Hence, classic extract is the one which is external to the database. So because extract process is external to the database, when it does the same task, it is slow. Means in terms of integrated extract, it is slow. Log miner, because it is internal to the database, it does it in much faster mode. So the performance of integrated extract is much faster than classic extract. Okay, is that clear? So the difference between integrated and classic is in integrated one, in classic one, the extract process establishes the connectivity directly with the database. However, in case of integrated one, it does not do it directly. There is one layer of log miner in between. Log miner passes on the changes to the extract process in form of LCRs. So log miner process architecture, integrated capture architecture basically looks like this. Internally, there are 4 processes which runs. First is reader process, which reads the data. Preparer process. So this is integrated capture internal architecture for you. So reader process reads the data. Prepare process, prepares the data. Builder process builds the uh, log miner. Capture process captures it and writes it to provides the data to the extract process. So integrated extract is much faster than classic. Now the thing is, do you have for integrated capture, do you have to do any log miner build separately? No. As soon as you register your extract process to the database, internally your log miner build happens. So you don't have to do anything separately for doing the log miner. This is just the concept which you should know, that integrated extract is tightly coupled with the log miner and it works with the log miner database. Okay, so extract process captures the data, writes to data pump process then reads the data from local trail, writes it to remote trail, and then replicate process applies it to target database. Now one question which was asked earlier was from Meenal. It was like, Can your source and target be different version, or your source and target be different replicates, or source and target be different architecture? Absolutely. The reason being, the data gets returned into the trail file. So the format of data which is returned by integrated extract or classic extract is same in trail files. Similarly, the data which is getting returned into remote trail is also same. So the thing is, GoldenGate replicate does not know. So basically, we have to understand one thing here. For this replicate process, the source is not the extract process. For this replicate process, the source is remote trail file. Similarly, for this extract process, the target is not the replicate. The target is this local trail file. Okay. So on source, you can have like integrated extract, target can have classic replicate, or your source can have classic extract, target can have integrated replicate. That would work without any issues. Similarly, your source can be classic architecture, target can be microservices, or vice versa. That is also okay. Similarly, your source could be higher version, database or GoldenGate could be higher version, target could be database or GoldenGate could be higher version. No issues with anything. GoldenGate works. And why it works like that is because these trail files, because of these trail files. So the format of trail files remains same irrespective of the platform you are working on, irrespective of the type of extract or replicate you are working. Okay. Any question on architecture?
Yeah.
Ashish, I have a question, Ashish. Since you said with the integrated architecture, so you said we don't need to take care of anything externally. That is, we don't need to do anything manually.
Dinesh, before you proceed once, let me correct. Means I want everyone to have correct concept. That's why there is nothing like integrated architecture. There are only two types of architecture: classic and microservices. Integrators as
Okay.
type of abstract.
Okay. So with the classic, okay, with this integrated and classic one, you said, right? So one can be in integrated and another can be also in classic kind of thing. So like how we can determine which is integrated side and which is classic side, since we are
That
not doing anything.
no, so you will understand what we do. So that all comes during configuration part. I'm saying that you don't build any log miner separately.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, but how you
Yeah.
set up classic, or how do you set up integrated, there is a bit, means only one extra word you have to include. Apart from that, how to identify whether it is integrated or classic, that also we'll discuss during the
Okay.
setup. Okay.
And one question I have, another one question. So log miner, it holds the committed changes with respect to the schema, what we are giving in the extract only, or it holds the all the committed transactions which is happening in the database.
It holds the copy of it. Is log miner is basically a copy of archive log, sorry, redo log and archive log. So what is getting returned into your redo logs, it is copy of that. So it's committed
Okay.
as well as uncommitted.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Ashish,
So
I have
only the reader and the planner thing, it makes easier for the extract to get the data. That is the only advantage with having this integrated part, correct?
Yeah, internally, yes, because
Yes.
it is internal to
Okay.
database.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Meenal, you had a question.
Yeah, I have one question. So, if like with integrated extract, a log mining process is, it's a new process which gets enabled on the source side. So, is there anything that needs to be considered while, because if we like on the source side, that needs to be taken care when
So
using.
whatever is needed, Meenal, we'll be discussing that during configuration part. So that
Okay,
question will be answered for you when we do the
all right.
configuration. So far we have, guys, remember one thing. So far we have just discussed about the concept. What are the different concepts available? We have not done the configuration. So once we do the configuration, your question will be answered.
Okay.
Hi,
Ashish.
Ashish, I have a question. Oh,
Sorry, just a minute, Christy. Pradeep has a question, then I'll come to you.
okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashish. Yeah. See, when you talk about classic approach, right? So it basically reads data from the redo and redo log, online redo log and archive logs. So why do you have to connect to the database? Because these files are like outside of database, right? These are just OS files. Why do you have to make a connection to database to read
You
these
need to have
files?
permission. Okay, how does GoldenGate establishes connectivity? You need to have a golden. Again, that part will be answered to you when we do the configuration. You will understand during the configuration.
Okay. Okay, one more question on the log miner. You said it duplicates data, right? So where does it write that log miner data stores? It is just like a redo log files. It is
It
another
is
OS
internal
files.
to the database. It is internal. Like, how do you read the archive logs? You must have heard that. How do you read the archive log? It is via log miner. So log miner holds all the data. So it is internal.
Okay, so that
All of
means
it.
like so that accounts additional storage, right? When you enable that,
A
you
bit.
have to make sure
Means
you have. Okay,
it's not like exact additional. It is like means it does that internally in a way. It does not like data wise. Read about logminer a bit. You will understand that. So
okay,
logminer is absolutely the thing is I always say one thing like if you're adding anything to the database means irrespective whether it is inside the database outside the database. Yes, it is going to have some it is going to store some data. It may impact means ideally it should not, but even 0.01% impact it can have on the performance of the database. So I never rule out. If you ask me, if you are adding anything like say for example logminer as well, if someone asks me will it have any negative impact on the database, I would say I would never say that it would be 0% impact. There may be even if it is 0.01%, which you may not feel like, but yes, definitely you are adding something. It's an additional thing which you're adding to the database, right?
yeah. The reason
One
I'm asking is like when you configure redo log files, right? You actually specify this size needs to be this much and stuff like that. Redo log members and groups. So when you enable log miner, you don't really do anything. It does automatically internally into
It
that.
is
Okay.
internal. Read about it. You will get the answer about logminer.
Okay.
Just spend half an hour. You will understand that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Christy, you had a question.
Yes, Ashish. So I was wondering because I have an environment with source and target database on the same host and on the same CDB. So the source database is PDB1, target database is PDB2. So how do you configure the coding gate for that?
Okay, again, that will be answered during the configuration part, Christy.
Okay, sure.
So in
Thank you.
your case, just to let you know, your source, extract, and replicate will reside on the same server. But more discussion we'll do during the session. I mean, during the configuration part. That would be answered for you.
Okay, thank you.
Vinci has a question like as logminer is introduced in integrated extract, so is there any overhead? So Vinci, the answer to that question is the overhead is very minimal, but the performance it delivers. Okay, guys, one thing is you have to weigh in the option. Okay, as I mentioned, there is nothing in this world. I always say has zero impact if you're adding anything. It can have some impact, even if it's 0.01%, but you have to weigh, you have to prioritize like the impact and the performance it delivers. So the impact it has and the performance it delivers, performance outweighs the impact absolutely. So performance wise the integrated extract is much higher than the impact is it has. The impact is very minimal. Means if you personally ask me, I have never seen any impact of it. I have never seen it. It doesn't mean it has no impact. It may have 0.001% impact, which I cannot identify at all. So it has impact. I won't rule out the possibility of zero. Means I won't rule out the possibility of any impact. But yes, there is always an impact. But the performance it delivers is very huge in comparison of impact it has, and it is much better than your classic extract. And in fact, if you are using multi-tenant architecture, you can use only integrated extract. You cannot use classic extract with that. Okay. Okay. So now let us discuss about installation of Oracle GoldenGate. How do you install Oracle GoldenGate? What are the things to keep in mind to install GoldenGate? Let us discuss about that. So for GoldenGate installation, so next topic we are going to discuss is installation of Oracle GoldenGate. So prior to installation, we have to do few tasks.
Yeah,
What
Ashish, I
are
have a
they?
question.
Prior to doing the installation, we are going to do, we have few tasks which we need to do. What are those? So what, first of all, we have to perform some hardware requirements. What are the hardware requirements you need to do before you proceed with installation? Suppose you are given the task to install GoldenGate, or you are given the task to configure or being the architect of Oracle GoldenGate environment. The first question would be hardware requirements. So what all hardware requirements are there? Like how many CPUs you need? These are the questions which are being asked from you, right? Like suppose GoldenGate is already installed, means the database is already running and you are asked to install GoldenGate on that or on the separate server, wherever it is. You will need to ask how many CPUs GoldenGate will consume, how many CPUs you need for GoldenGate, ample GoldenGate performance, right? Second question which would be asked would be how much space you need. Third question would be, which would be decided by you, of course, means all these things have to be answered by you. Which user to use to install GoldenGate? These are the three things you need to answer. First is hardware requirement. What are the hardware requirements? First is how many CPUs you need. So for running CPUs, for running GoldenGate, remember guys one thing. It is very low memory consumption tool. But the thing is, each process you configure in GoldenGate consumes some CPU, and also in production when you are running, you don't want to run out of memory, you don't want to run out of CPUs, right? You need to have ample number of CPUs for good performance of GoldenGate. So as a practice, what we do is, we for running GoldenGate we use 4 or 8 core CPU. It's minimum 4 and maximum you can go whatever you can get. So minimum 4 cores I would recommend to run GoldenGate. So say for example, if your database is already running with some cores, you should ask or you should insist, because if GoldenGate is running on that, it can impact it means if GoldenGate processes consume CPU, it can, it may impact database. See, we have to be ready, means what I'm telling you right now is based on my experience, based on based on the problems which I have faced. Like in few of the projects, what happened was database was running fine, but after GoldenGate, installing GoldenGate, the database performance was bit impacted, not much, but because it was so critical government database, even a 1% impact was considered a huge impact. So always remember, means you should give it a, means in requirement you should always mention that if you are going to install GoldenGate on existing database server, you should add minimum 4 cores to the existing cores. If in future any issue comes, then you can mention that, and if no cores are added, you can anytime mention that you had already provided that requirement, just to be on safer side, because it is expected, you can say it is expected. See, we have to understand one thing, means I always say one thing: if you are doing something on one server and if you add another thing, another technology, anything on that server, it may impact it adversely, right? You cannot expect it to work on the in the same way as it was working earlier, because you are adding something extra, even though the software you are installing has minimum impact, but it can have impact. Like suppose your machine right now is working only with Google Chrome, but you add Opera browser in that. I can, it may have zero impact, but it can have, but I have to be ready with some impact, right? It can, it can adversely affect the performance, right? My machine is running with one VM. If I add two VMs in that, it can adversely affect, right? So ensure to be on safer side, you add 4 or 8 core. Max more number of cores if you can add, that is best. But yeah, minimum 4 cores I would recommend. Second thing you would need is space. You need to find how much space you need. So you need to decide whether you want to add new mount point or use existing mount point for installation of GoldenGate. So you can use either new mount point like /GoldenGate, or you can use existing mount point like /U01 or something to install GoldenGate. But wherever you do, you will need space. So how do you do space calculation? I'll discuss with you. Okay, so suppose if you are using existing mount point, you have to consider like it will, whatever is means, if the size allocated to that is 500 GB and it was assumed that it would last for 4 years, and suppose suddenly you add GoldenGate into that, so you cannot assume that again it will last for 4 years. It can last for 2 years, it can last for 1 month, it can last for 10 days, because GoldenGate is extra which has been added. So you have to do impact analysis of that, right? So you can use it either on existing mount point or you can add it to new mount point like /GoldenGate. Space calculation I'll discuss. How do you do, how much space you need? How do you calculate that? I'll discuss about that. Third thing which you would decide, which you would need to decide is which user you will use to install GoldenGate. Whether you would use Oracle or any other user. OS user I'm talking about. This is OS user. Which OS user to use install GoldenGate? Oracle or any other user like GG admin or GG user? OS user. You can name any. Means I'm naming it like GG admin or GG user. So you have to decide which user you will use to install Oracle GoldenGate. So it again depends, like if DBAs are going to manage Oracle GoldenGate environment, in that case you can use Oracle user. Now if GoldenGate and GoldenGate and DBA responsibilities are segregated, then use other OS user like GG user or GG admin or any other user. Ensure that that user should be part of your O install group. It should be part of your O install group because it will need to access your archive logs and redo logs. So it should be part of your O install group. Okay. So these are the three things first of all when you are setting up GoldenGate: CPUs, space requirement, like whether you want to install, where you want to install GoldenGate, like whether you want to add a new mount point like /GoldenGate or use existing mount point like /U01, and which user you should be installing GoldenGate with. So if DBAs are going to manage GoldenGate, then use Oracle. Now in many organizations now what is happening is GoldenGate and DBA responsibilities are segregated. Then you can use GG user or GG admin user. Okay. Now, how do you do the space calculation? Like how much mount point size you need? The answer to this is there is no straightforward calculation. Again, that calculation is dependent on your experience and what you follow. I'll tell you what I follow for that. So what I follow is, suppose I have been given task to set up GoldenGate. Now what I'll be doing is I'll be finding out last 30 days day-wise archive log generation. I generally do 30 days for small database and 60 days for large database which are in TBs. So day-wise archive log generation for last 30 or 60 days. Now in last 60 days or 30 days, I identify like 7 days when the archive generation was highest. Like someday the archive generation could be 20 GB, one day it could be 20 GB, one day it could be 1 GB only, one day it could be 100 MB, one day it could be 100 GB, right? So I find out 7 days highest archive log generation and take out the average of 7 days highest archive log generation. Suppose the average of highest archive log generation like 100 GB, 20 GB one day, then 15 GB. So the average of 7 days highest archive log generation comes out to be 25 GB, right? So what I'll do as a practice, we keep trail files for 7 days. As a practice, we keep trail files for 7 days. So what I'll do, I'll multiply 25 by 7, which comes out to be 175 GB. And for future, like for future purpose, because I need to be ready for next 4-5 years, right? I'll double this amount. I'll double this amount. So I would request for around 350 to 500 GB of space. I'll request for 350 to 500 GB of space. And this should, based on current scenario, based on current applications, etc., this should suffice me for next 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. Because I have already taken the maximum archive log generation for last 7 days, which comes out to be 175 GB. I've already multiplied, doubled it. By, I've already doubled it, which comes out to be 350, and then added some extra space. So I would start with 500 GB for asking the mount point space and would settle for around 350 GB if there are any questions. Almost 80% of organizations or projects will give you the space you need, but 20% will question you. So at least 20% will do the bargaining for space as well. So you would be good for 350 GB, but I would request for minimum 500 GB of space. But again, this is my way of calculation. If you talk to someone else, they may have some different calculation method. I follow this calculation method. Okay. So I would add this much space either if I'm going with new mount point or in the existing mount point space. Okay. So once I have got all these things, once I have got all these things, next step is I need to decide which GoldenGate version I would download and how, means I need to identify which GoldenGate version I should be using and downloading. So before doing that, before you proceed to download GoldenGate, you need to check the certification metrics, which version supports your environment. But prior to supporting, you also need to check, you need to note down few things like what is your source database type, source database version, source platform, you need to know. Similarly, on target side as well, you need to know target DB type and version, and target platform you need to know. So in our case, like the VMs which we are using, GGate 1 and GGate 2, we have got we have got the source database type is Oracle. Source database version is 12.2, that is 12c. Then platform is, I can check, name -a. It is Enterprise Linux 6. It is EL6. In the same way, the target database is Oracle. Version again is 12.2, 12c. And platform here again is Enterprise Linux 6 again. So these are the things which you should know, which you should note down first. Once you have all that information, next thing is you will go to, you will check the certification matrix. You will check the certification matrix. So to check the certification matrix, you can find Fusion Middleware certification matrix. You can search on Google. GoldenGate is a Fusion middleware, Oracle Fusion middleware product. So you can find the Fusion middleware certification matrix. So click on first link here. On this page, you can find certification matrix for all Oracle GoldenGate version, like 19C, 18C. You have got 21C GoldenGate as well. So you will find 21C GoldenGate certification metric as well, 19C, 18C. You can find 12.2, 12.3. I think 11G should be there as well. Yeah, 11G R1. So you can find all certification metrics over here. So all the certification metrics you can find over here. So now to decide which one you should use, I would always say that go with the latest supported version. Like now 21C is the latest version. It is not tested out. So as of now, I would say check first of all with, instead of 21C, check for 19C. That's why I do this training on 19C still. I will be upgrading it to 21C soon once I test it thoroughly. So as of now, we'll check 19C certification metric. So we'll identify the certification metric for Golden. This is GoldenGate certification metric. So I'll download certification metric of 19C. You can check 18C. So if 19C says your database or platform or version is not supported, then you can choose, you can go with 18C and go so on, so that you can find which one is latest supported one. So I'll check I'll go to GoldenGate. So here now,
This conference will now be recorded.
so certification metrics we need to check. So we have opened the 19C certification metric. So guys, remember one thing, checking the certification metric is not only important for GoldenGate. I always say check the certification metric for any technology. In fact, for database as well, if you're using, check the certification metrics. So it covers the following product. You can find these following product, this certification matrix is valid for. Now you can see the another part is you can find, you want to find that what database this GoldenGate 19C supports. So you can find the database names over here. So GoldenGate supports these many databases, like it supports Amazon Aurora, Amazon RDS for MySQL, MariaDB, Amazon RDS for Oracle, then Azure databases, what all it supports, then IBM DB2, then Nscribe, C-Tree, Azure SQL database, MariaDB it supports, MS SQL, MySQL, Oracle database, Oracle Timestamp, Postgres, Sybase, Teradata. So this 19C supports all these databases. Now it doesn't mean that if your database is not listed here, it doesn't mean it doesn't support other databases. It could be possible that this 19C does not support, but 18C may support. But again, 18C not mentioned over 18C doesn't mean 18C also doesn't support. You can check 12C, 12.2, 12.3, and then you can check 11G. If none of them list your database, that means it's not supported. Okay, so this 19C support these many databases. Similarly, you can see the platforms as well. These many OS version, OS platform, processor type, these things it supports. So I'll go with, because my database is Oracle, I'll check only Oracle database. Okay, I'll check Oracle database. Now, then I have to check the OS version. So OS is mine is processor is Oracle Linux, right? So it is Linux x86-64. So I'll select this. So these are the versions, these are the things Oracle GoldenGate 19C supports for processor type Linux, and Oracle database it supports. So now my Oracle my version is RHEL 6, which is this it supports. So mine was RHEL 6, right? Yeah, we noted it down. It was EL 6, yeah. So this 19C supports RHEL 6. I can go, and it supports these database versions 11.204, 12.1, 12.1.0.2, 12.2, and 18C. So the database which I have is 12.2, Oracle database, and Enterprise Linux 6. So everything is supported. So I can go ahead and download this 19. Oracle GoldenGate 19C. Okay. You can see the comments as well. This is also good, like if you want to check, verify. So it supports local and remote capture and delivery for standard and enterprise version. So only standard and enterprise versions are supported, guys. Remember, it supports remote non-integrated delivery to Oracle autonomous transaction processing and data warehousing. So it supports non-integrated replicate delivery to ATP, Oracle Autonomous Database as well. Okay. Okay. So we'll go ahead and download this 19C version, and then we'll proceed with the installation. So to download this Oracle GoldenGate 19C, you can either download it from OTN, or you can go through submins Oracle. Oh, you can either download it through edelivery.oracle.com or through OTN. Both is supported. So to download it through OTN, you can do download Oracle GoldenGate 19C. It will take you to Oracle GoldenGate. So here now you will find that on OTN it provides you the latest version only, like 21.3. I think 19C won't be here now. Uh, yeah, for Linux it won't be there because 21C has been introduced. So so when you see here, like if suppose if you have to download 21C here from here, you will find that there are different binaries for different platform, different database types. Like you see, this is Oracle GoldenGate 21C for Oracle on Linux x86-64, and this is Oracle GoldenGate 21.3 for microservices for Oracle on Linux x86-64. So the one without anything, it means that it is classic architecture binary. So remember, sorry guys, remember one thing, the binaries of classic and microservices architecture are different. So if you are choose to go ahead with classic, download the one which doesn't say anything. So it just says Oracle GoldenGate. And if you want to go ahead with microservices, then choose the one with microservices architecture. Now you will see that for different database and different platforms, binaries are different. Like for Windows, it is a different binary. Then for DB2 on Linux, it is different binary. For DB2 on ZOS on Linux, for IBM Z, it is different binary. Then for SQL Server on Linux, it is different. For SQL Server on Windows, it is different. Then for microservices, it is different. Microservices for SQL Server. So the thing is, if you want to go, so you need to note down prior to download This is really very important. Like I have seen people, what they do is they download the binary and then they found out it is not supported. Because sometimes like on Solaris, it may be possible that 21C is not supported. Just letting you know. Means just as an example, it's not like it is not supported. You need to check the certification metric. Suppose on Sun Solaris it is not supported 21C and you download it. Then later on you identify, you spend some time, then you identify. It doesn't look good. As a professional, it doesn't look good. So always ensure you check the certification metric. After you check the certification metric, then proceed to download and install. Okay. So in our case, we'll go ahead with 19C download. Okay, so suppose you are unable to find any binary over here, the supported binary which you want to download, you don't find it here. Then from where you can find, you can go to edelivery.oracle.com. From there also you can find your binary. You can find from edelivery.oracle.com. So here on edelivery you can put Oracle GoldenGate. So put Oracle GoldenGate, search for it. Now here you can do search for, like you want to download for 19C. Search for Oracle GoldenGate 19C. It will be added to your cart. Go to view items. Continue. Okay. Now here select the platform for which you want to download this. So I'll download for Linux x86 64. Click on continue. Then I reviewed. Select the review and then click on continue. Now here again this 19C, you need to select for which database you need to download it. So you need to download for Oracle, this one. So click on this Oracle GoldenGate 19.1.0.0.4 for Oracle. Click on it and then click on download. Your binaries will be downloaded. Now your source, say for example, is Oracle. Target is SQL Server. A version is different, a platform is different. In that case, you will have separate binaries for both source and target. You will have separate binaries for both source and target. But in our case, so you will have to do two separate downloads, one for source and second for target. But in our case, because the binaries are same, right? So that is fine for us. Means we can do one download, and can one download can suffice for us in this scenario for us, right? So we have done 119C download, and once you download, you can transfer it to your virtual box or machine where you are working. So the virtual boxes which I'm going to use for training and which are also shared with you, these are the virtual boxes which you have. Okay, so you will find the binaries in there is a directory I have already transferred. So you will find the binary under u01 no /home /oracle softwares uh, OGG classic 19C binaries. So in this location, in your virtual box which is shared, you will find under /home /oracle /softwares, you will find all three binaries: classic, microservices, and very data. All three binaries you will find over there. So for this training, we are going to use classic binaries, right? We are going to use classic. So you can find the classic binaries under OGG underscore classic underscore 19C binary. So go to OGG underscore classic underscore OGG 19C binaries. There you will find that it is zipped. So what you need to do, you need to unzip it. unzip it. So unzipping will take a couple of minutes. So once unzipping is done, we can proceed. So guys, these virtual boxes are shared with you and they are present under, as I mentioned, /home/oracle/softwares location. So one thing is, like, we also have to decide where do we want to install this GoldenGate, right? Where do we want to install GoldenGate? So we will use the existing mount point under /user, and we will use Oracle user to install GoldenGate. So we will use Oracle user and we'll install GoldenGate under U01 app Oracle. Here I'll create one directory with the name OGG_src. Okay, so GoldenGate on source will be installed under this. On Ggate 1, it will be installed under this U01 app Oracle OGG_src. Okay, and we are going to install it using Oracle user. So the binaries are now, so you have to ensure that you have sufficient space as well. So you can check df-kh/u01. So I have got 17 GB available, so that should be fine. Now, because it is training and development, so 17 GB is fine. Otherwise it won't be. Okay. Now the binaries are, so you can, once you have unzipped the binaries, if you want to remove these binaries, you can remove these binaries from here. Now, once you have done that, go to this FBO, means your binaries have been unzipped to this location, this FBO GGS Linux. Go to this CD. Then here you will find disk 1. Then here you will have run installer for GUI installation. So you will do GUI installation now. So GoldenGate supports both GUI as well as silent installation. I'll show you silent installation for Ggate too. Okay. So I'll do xhost plus, it will set the display. Once display is set, so to set the display, you need to do xhost space plus in these virtual box. Now to run installer, your installer will invoke. So first it will do temp space check, then it will do swap space check, check the monitor display, etc. Installation is pretty easy. Guys, GoldenGate, let me tell you, is pretty easy to learn. Only thing is your concept should be clear and how you proceed. Once you have all those things, like download wise, I know everyone will say download and installation is easy. But the thing is which binaries to download, whether it is supported or not supported. One thing is I have seen people, what they do is they directly raise an SR with Oracle, wait for a few days for Oracle to respond to understand whether anything is supported or not. Guys, you have got certification metric for that. Check that. Be self-reliant. Means the purpose, what I always would ask you is, you should be self-reliant and self-dependent on everything. Okay. So now, when you do installation, now it asks you select the database for this Oracle GoldenGate installation. That means that for which database this Oracle GoldenGate is supported. So remember one thing, guys, you remember when we check the certification metrics. So it said that this GoldenGate supports 11G, this GoldenGate 19C version supports 11G database, 12C database, 18C database, and 19C as well, right? So when we try to run it, it asks us this GoldenGate 19C which you are trying to install, for which version of GoldenGate, for which version of database you are going to use it for. Whether it is Oracle database 11G, Oracle database 12C, Oracle database 18C, or Oracle database 19C. So the database version which we have in our environment is 12C. The reason why we need to provide it is when we invoke GGSCI, GoldenGate uses database libraries. I'll show it to you. That will make it more clearer. Why do we need to provide the correct location? That's why. I'll go to U01 app Oracle product 12. So lib under library directory. Here you will see if ls. So here you will see that there are binaries like libcll12.co. So the thing is, these binaries you see which have 1 2 here, these binaries are version wise. So like if you have 11g installed, these binaries library files will have 11 over here. Similarly 19c will have 19 over here, and 18c will have 18 over here instead of 12. So these library files are version specific. So when you invoke ggsci, it uses the library files, and if the library files are not found properly, it won't invoke. So the thing is, if you use 12c, so it will look for the library files with 12. If you use 18c over here, it will look for library files as per 18, but because those does not exist, it won't be able to invoke. But when we use 12c, because our database version is 12c and library files are present as 12c, hence you need to select the. So these are version specific library files. Okay, so you need to select Oracle GoldenGate for Oracle database 12c. So guys, again repeat, people get confused that why are we choosing 12c over here? Why not 19c? The reason being, there are two things, guys, you have to understand. One is Oracle GoldenGate, second is Oracle database. So Oracle GoldenGate version which we have downloaded is 19c. That is done. Now we are installing this GoldenGate 19c for Oracle database 12c. So that's why we need to select Oracle GoldenGate for Oracle database 12c. So this is the database version which you have on your machine. So we have Oracle database version 12.2. Okay, click on next. Once you have done that, provide the software location where your GoldenGate would be installed in. So GoldenGate, we created that folder, right? U01 app Oracle OGG underscore CRC SRC, sorry. So GoldenGate we will be installing in this location. So if you do ls here, you won't find anything right now. So GoldenGate we are installing in this location, U01 app Oracle OGG SRC. Then you have to provide like start manager. So each GoldenGate version has a manager means each GoldenGate installation comes with manager. So we are choosing to start the manager, and here then you will have to provide the location of database home. Basically this is database home. So the database home is U01 app Oracle product 12.2.0.1. If you choose not to start manager, then you don't need to provide. But if you choose to start the manager, then you need to provide the database home. And manager requires a port to run on. Remember that port can be anything. By default it uses port 7809, but you can use any port like 8888 or 1020, any port. It is okay. Just ensure that that port is open and nothing else is running on that port. So nothing should be run on that particular port. Okay, so you have to ensure that the port is open and nothing is running on that port. Manager process in GoldenGate requires a port to run on. Once you have done that, click on next. So you have to provide the software location and then database location and the port number if you're choosing to start the manager. Then you can choose to verify the information what you have provided. If everything is okay, then you can save the response. If you want to do the silent installation and if you want to save the response file, you can save the response file as well. Save it. Then click on install. So the GoldenGate installation will now happen. Similarly, if you want to do the silent installation now, let us do silent installation on GGate 2 in the meanwhile. We can do silent installation. So this is GUI installation. It will complete in next 2 to 3 minutes.
In the meanwhile, we can do silent installation. We can see how silent installation happens. So this is GGate 2. Like we have GGate 1 and we have cloned it to GGate 2. So after this, once we complete this installation, I'll discuss about training guidelines and how to do the VM setup and everything. For next 10-15 minutes we'll do. Let us first complete this installation. So installation we'll do here on GGate 2. So for installation again, on GGate 2, we'll go to U01 app. Oh, sorry. First, we'll go to software location, home, Oracle softwares, /home/Oracle, home, Oracle softwares, OGG underscore classic underscore 19C binaries. Unzip the binaries, what you have. In the meanwhile, we can check the installation progress on GGate 1. You see here, it says installation of Oracle GoldenGate was successful on GGate 1, right? So I'll close this. Now, if you go to that location, so I'm back to GGate 1 where installation is done. Okay. Now I'll go to that location again where GoldenGate is installed under OGG SRC location. Now I do ls-lart. I see that binaries are now present over here. You see, binaries are now present and created over here. So now what I'll do, here we have got GGS under this GoldenGate home. So this is the GoldenGate home. U01 app Oracle OGG SRC is GoldenGate home. Under we have got an executable called as GGSCI. GGSCI is GoldenGate software command line interface. So this is the GoldenGate prompt. So to invoke the prompt, you can do /GGSCI. So it will invoke. So this is what I was mentioning. This GGSCI uses your libraries. So suppose your libraries are not proper. It is not 12C, it is 19C over there, and you selected 12C. So it will expect 12C of binaries. Hence, it won't be able to invoke. Or suppose your library path is not set properly. One more thing I'll show you. Okay, there is a export ld underscore library underscore path equal to /u01 app. Suppose I do that. Now I do that GGSCI. See, you will get this error. You will get this error because the library path is basically Oracle home /lib, but because library path I have changed and it is unable to find this binary because I selected 12C over there. That is why this error is coming. So it is looking for this library file and it is not there. Hence it is failing. Okay. So I'll again export ld underscore libraries. This is the significance of selecting the correct database over there. So U01, I'll do Oracle underscore home /lib. Now I'll do GGSCI. Now it will be able to do. Now on GGSCI prompt, to check what all GoldenGate processes are configured, you can do info all. Info all is the command which tells you what all GoldenGate processes are configured in your environment. So we have got a manager process which is configured and it is running. Why it is running? Can anyone tell me?
We selected right the option while installing.
Installation, we selected the option for manager start.
Yeah, exactly. Because we selected the option of starting the manager, that's why manager is running over here. Okay. Now, if you do here, like now each process in GoldenGate has a parameter file associated to it. Parameter files in GoldenGate are really very critical files. They are the most critical files. Okay. So
each process in GoldenGate works according to parameter files you could provide. So here, if you see, if you do edit param, so if you see on what is the parameter file of the process, you can do view param mgr. So view param mgr, it is running on port 7809 because we created that we provided that port number while installation 7809. That's why this port number is there, 7809. Okay. Now if I exit here, you will find different directories over here like dir pcs, dir rpt, dir prm, dir crd, dir chk, dir dat, dir def, dir sql, dir tmp. So these all directories are for Oracle GoldenGate configuration. Like PCS stores the process status information. dir rpt stores the report file. dir prm stores the parameter file. dir crd stores the credential stores which you create. dir dmp stores the dump file. This is not critical. dir wlt stores the wallet information. dir chk stores the checkpoint, is a checkpoint directory. It stores the checkpoint files. dir dat stores the trail files, whatever you create. dir def stores the definition files. SQL and TMP, if you want to store any SQL file, you can do that. And dir TMP is for temporary storage. So you have got all these created. Along with that, you also have ggserr.log created. ggserr.log is kind of an error log. It's kind of an alert log of the database. So what alert log is to database, ggserr.log is to GoldenGate. So ggserr.log has every information, whatever you do. Okay. So the GoldenGate installation on source is completed. Now we'll do GoldenGate installation on GGate. So for GGate 2, I'll do the silent installation. But for that, I'll copy that /home/oracle/softwares. I'll copy that response file. FBO CD disk 1 CD response. OGG core.rsp. I had saved that, right? Okay, I'll quickly create then. It didn't create. Okay, I'll go to FBO disk 1 response.
You saved in the Oracle home.
OGG. That's okay. I'll create quickly. So install option is Aura 19c. So now you have to provide like first page you remember in GUI was for which database you want to run it for. So it's Aura 12c because our database is 12c. Then second is software location where you want to install GoldenGate. So I'll create a directory here as well. So I'll go to U01 app Oracle. I'll create OGG underscore trg. I'll provide this location. Then go below start manager. We don't want to start them. So in GGate 1 we started the manager during installation. Now what I'm doing, I'm not going to start the manager over here. Okay, so I'm keeping it blank. Okay, then manager port again because it's not needed, and database location I don't need to provide. And we need to provide the inventory location. So inventory location I'll copy from GGate 1 itself. Where did I copy? Home /home/ Oracle. Okay, here it is. OGG core.rsp. So I'll use the same inventory location. U01 app or inventory it will create. and Unix group name is o install. Guys, we'll continue for next 5 minutes. Okay, we'll finish this installation part. So once you have created this response file, now you can go ahead and start the silent installation. So you need to note down the location. You need to note down the location where your response file is. Okay, now go to your run installer. So you will need to invoke it in silent mode. So how do you invoke in silent mode is, so
Using silent keyword.
you using hyphen silent keyword. So you need to run installer hyphen silent and then response file location. So do run installer hyphen silent and silent file location and name slash OGG co.rsp. Huh? ls huh? Okay, I think then I is kept
Or I is on.
and then hyphen silent. So it will now do the checks for you and then it will do some. Means same thing what it was doing in silent mode, now it will do in, so sorry, the same thing which it was doing in GUI mode, now it will do in silent mode. And then it will install Oracle GoldenGate on that location where we have provided. So now you will see we have provided the option that don't start the manager, right? So you will see the difference now. What happens when you don't start the manager? I think it should not take more than 2 minutes now.
So is there any difference like if you want to install on the standalone server rather than the database server itself?
Means you mean to say some remote server, right?
Yeah, just where I have only GoldenGate, no database, just a standalone.
Yeah, we'll discuss
Just
about that. We'll discuss
okay.
about that, what all things you need. We'll discuss. So the installation is not done. I think I provided, we need to provide response file keyword as well, right? Hyphen response file we need to provide. Okay. So I just provided, okay, hyphen silent, then hyphen response file. Response file. I think this should be okay, right? Hyphen response file. Okay. Now let us see. So we can go
Response
to
Now
that
file.
location.
it's a
Response file
uppercase.
is capital
This
F.
is a
I think this should be fine. I believe so. Let us see. If it doesn't
Yep.
work, then oh, F you are saying is capital. Maybe. So we are choosing U01 app Oracle OGG underscore TRG. So once the installation starts, you will find that it will happen over at this location. So guys, once we are done with this like installation, I want to show you a few more things like what happens when you're not starting the manager, what is the difference between the two. So wait for a few minutes, like I think in the next 5 minutes we should be done. You can drop off if you want to. After that I'll be taking 10 minutes more for training guidelines and setting up virtual boxes. So if you want to be part of that, you can be. Otherwise all the instructions are provided anyways. So the installation is in progress, you can see it is. See, the installation is happening of GoldenGate. So let us wait until we get the confirmation.
And when we are going to create GoldenGate user and assign to O install group,
So we already have that. We are using Oracle user for installation. So Oracle user, which is there, it is already part of O install group.
Ashisha, can I ask a question for RAC database? So you need to run the run installer on node 1 and node 2.
Yeah. So you do local installation in that case. Yes, you have to do that.
Okay.
You do local means installation of GoldenGate on each node in rack.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so GoldenGate installation now is successful. You see, installation of Oracle GoldenGate core was successful. Now here, if you see ls-lart, you can find GoldenGate is installed. So to invoke ggSCI, do /ggSCI. Now when I do info all over here, I see that manager is stopped. Why? Because I gave the option, I didn't choose the option of starting the manager. So how do I start the manager? I need to provide the port number for manager. So how do that means I need to create the parameter file. Now how do I create the parameter file? I need to do edit param mgr. So parameter file gets created inside dir prm directory. But the problem is dir prm does not exist at all. The directory which got automatically created over there, like if I exit over here now, I do ls-lart, you won't find the directories like dir prm, dir dat, dir rpt, etc. right now. The reason being they get automatically created when you start the manager. But when you choose not to start the manager, they don't get created automatically. So do you need to create those directories manually? No. The answer to that question is you can do create subdirs. So those are the subdirectories. So when you execute the command create subdirs, it automatically create all the directories for you like dir prm, dir rpt, dir chk, dir pcs, dir sql, dir def, dir dat, dir tmp, dir crd, dir wlt, and dir dmp. Exit and do ls-lart. You can find all the directories have been created. So it is always recommended that you start the manager. If you don't do that, then you can always create the directories later on. Now, if you want to start the manager on GGate2 as well, you can do edit param mgr. To create the parameter file, you need to do edit param process name at ggSCI level. And then for manager, you provide port and port number on which the manager would run on. So you can provide the same port number as GGate1 and GGate2. Manager can run on same port. It's not like they have to be different. But just for training guideline, like as we move forward, you will understand what port we need to provide, how do we provide. That's why I'm choosing the different port. And for target manager, I will run it on 7810. Save it and close it and then start manager. Now if you do info all, you will see that manager is running on GGate2 as well. Okay. So your Oracle, so remember one thing guys, each GoldenGate installation has one and only one manager. Okay. So each GoldenGate installation will have only one, it will have at least one and only one manager. Okay. Any question from anyone? So there is one question, what is best practice to install GoldenGate on same server as DB or separate server? So guys, what are different options to install GoldenGate? Where do you install? We'll be discussing that in the next session. So please hold on to that question. In case of vCPU, will it make any impact? I'm not sure about that really. vCPU, I haven't tried that, so I cannot confirm that, Mangesh.
Yeah, I mean, if it is a virtual machine, Ashish, mostly it's a vCPU, right?
Is it? Okay, I'm not sure. So I'm using virtual machine only.
So you will have vCPU. So two cores might be, it's depend upon your threads. the cores and
Okay.
what the cores are you using. So it will be multi-thread. One core might be the two vCPUs, something like that.
Okay. 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 Then that means it is supported then.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
GG support on Oracle Database Enterprise Edition or SC2 also. It supports Enterprise Edition. It has full support on Enterprise Edition. For SC Standard Edition, it has like limited support, guys. Means I would say equivalent to very less support. Okay. So yeah, guys. So if you have any question, you can ask. So I'll quickly discuss about next session notification. So guys, next session, day 2 session will be next week, Saturday. Same timing it will be. And in the next session, we'll be discussing about different means options to install Oracle GoldenGate, like where on what all locations you can install GoldenGate, prerequisites to install GoldenGate, what is supplemental logging and different types of supplemental logging, how GoldenGate process data flow happens. Then we'll enable extract process to capture the data from source. So we'll do the setup like extract process capturing the data, writing to local trail, then data pump process sending the data over TCP/IP network, writing to remote trail, and then the replicate process applying the data to the target server. So steps to do or the task prior to next session is set up the lab. I'll discuss. So the lab setup kit is shared with you. Now I'll discuss about training guidelines as well. So set up the lab, create database on GGate 1 and GGate 2, create application schema and tables. I'll show in the next session to you, and install Oracle GoldenGate on GGate 1 and GGate 2. So do these tasks. Task number 1, 2, and 4. Remove this. Okay. And then next session is same timing next week. Link to join will be different and it will be shared 24 to 48 hours prior to the next session video. Okay, so if I have to quickly recap what we discussed in today's session. So we discussed regarding introduction to Oracle GoldenGate. Like GoldenGate was acquired by Oracle in 2009 and since then it is known as Oracle GoldenGate. And 2017 there was only one architecture. In 2017 another architecture, microservices, was introduced. So there are two types of architectures now, classic and microservices. Microservices architecture is REST API based architecture and it allows for GUI configuration management and troubleshooting as well. Veridata is another product in GoldenGate family which allows for verification of data. It is a separately licensed tool. Now one more thing, in single license, as per again the answer is based on my understanding and knowledge. In if you have Oracle GoldenGate license, you can use either classic or microservices. Like there is no separate license for classic and microservices. But for Veridata, yes, you need separate license. Now, why GoldenGate? GoldenGate is near real-time replication solution which supports heterogeneous environment and heterogeneous platform. There are two types of extract processes, classic and integrated extract process. Classic extract is there since beginning. Integrated was introduced from GoldenGate version 11.204. Different types of replicates are non-integrated or classic, integrated replicate, coordinated replicate, or parallel replicate. Parallel replicate is again of two types, parallel integrated and parallel non-integrated. And Oracle GoldenGate architecture, how data flows. So all the GoldenGate processes flows works independently of each other. You have extract process capturing the data, writing to local trail, pump process writing data to remote trail, and replicate process applying the data to the target database. Now the GoldenGate training VM which has been shared with you, it has 12.2 database and 19C binaries. The binaries are present, GoldenGate binaries are present in home Oracle software. Okay, then we proceeded with download and installation. So prior to that, we check the certification metrics. So always ensure you check the certification metrics. And before proceeding with installation, you need to define the location where you need to install. So I'll also include these hardware requirements as well, which I introduced today in the same recap. Okay, then how do you install GoldenGate? You can either do silent installation or GUI installation. So we discussed about both. And to invoke the GGSCI, you need to go to GG home and execute /GGSCI. Manager process is default for GoldenGate install. There are 3 processes involved: capture, pump, and replicate process. Yeah. So post session assignment includes complete lab setup for both VMs, create database instances on both nodes, and install OGG on GGate 1 and GGate. Okay.
Yeah, fine, Ashish.
Okay, so now I'll quickly discuss about training guidelines, training emails which you must have received. Along with that, I'll also discuss with you like how to set up the VMs quickly. Okay, so with all of you, you must have received 2 emails from me. Let me open that. First email would be your training enrollment confirmation email. If you have enrolled in last 24 hours, it may still be pending. But for those, and you will receive within next 24 hours. But for those who have enrolled prior to that, you must already have received it. So Oracle GoldenGate training enrollment confirmation email, where it tells you what all courses you are currently enrolled to. So verify it based on the enrollment you have done. If you find any discrepancy in the email, do ensure to notify me. Also, you have been added to the WhatsApp groups of training. All the notifications are sent to that. Along with that, you must be receiving the calendar invites as well. You will be receiving the calendar invites for the session. And also you have been added to the WhatsApp group, or you will be added to the WhatsApp group if already not done. Also, the second email which you would have received would be related to the lab setup kit. So these virtual boxes setup. So with the training, you get complimentary virtual boxes, which comes with MSA, classic and Veridata binaries. So these lab setup kit, you need to set up the lab. I'll discuss that with you. Also, you will be getting the folder. A folder has been shared with you where all the recordings will be uploaded. So you will be receiving that email. You have not received it so far. So you can get that. You can get that over your email. So over email you will receive the notification, and you can go to your Google Drive, and you can go to drive.google.com, and on the left side you can click shared with me. There you will find the shared folder with you. So the binaries will be the sessions will be uploaded over here. So you can go to shared with me, and you can find over here. Okay. So let us quickly discuss about lab setup, how to do the lab setup. So to do the lab setup, if you click on this link, you will find, first thing you will find is the Oracle VirtualBox software. So our Oracle VirtualBox Manager. So over there, the latest version is I think 6.1.40, something like that. You can download it from virtualbox.org, or I've already provided it. You can use that. Okay. Then what you need to do, guys, please be if you're not speaking. Okay. Now, when you click on the link, you will find this virtual box manager, and there is a ggate1.ova file. Then you will find there is setting VM step-by-step pictorial guide. You can follow this, and also you will get this how to set up lab. So watch this video, guys. This is really very important. It will tell you how to set up the lab. So download this and ggate1. Once you have downloaded it, go to file, click on import appliance, and go to location where you have downloaded that ggate1.ova file. Okay, go to that location. So mine is kept in D. lab setup GGate 1. Select it, open it, then click on next, and then you can do generate new MAC address for all network adapters and then click import. It will import. So it can take anywhere between 2 minutes to 30 minutes to import. Once you have imported it, then you have to clone it to GGate 2. So right click. For that, importing your GGate 1 should be shut down. Means it should not be running. So once you click on clone, right click and clone option will come and you can clone it. Okay, I'll show it in pictorial guide with to you. So for cloning, what you need to do is here. So you need to right click on GGate 1, ensure that your GGate 1 is not running, then only it will enable. Then change the name to GGate 2. If you have, like, say for example, while cloning or while importing, you can change the path as well. Like you can provide C or D, you can change the drive. Say for example, in C drive you don't have much space, then you can move to D drive. And then MAC address policy, ensure that you select this generate new MAC address for all network adapters. Once you do that, click on next, then select full clone and click on clone. Your cloning will start. Again, it may take any 5 minutes to 30 minutes. Then you will have GGate 1 and GGate 2. You can start your GGate 2 machine. The password of all Oracle user and root user is welcome1 in small letters. It's welcome1 in small letters. Okay. Then what you need to do is you can change the name of your GGate 2. Follow that guide, guys. I'm just giving you quick guide. So su hyphen WELCOME1 WELCOME1. Okay. VI slash etc slash sysconfig slash network. So you will need on etc, sorry. So here you will need change the host name to GGate 2. By default, it would be GGate 1. So you will need to change to GGate 2 for GGate 2 because you are cloning. Okay. Once you have done that, next step, very important step, is you have to check the IF config on both GGate 1 and GGate 2. So you have to ensure that the output of IF config and slash etc slash host should match. So cat slash etc slash host. So if you see you can provide so this machine has two IP right now, 119 and 120, because we are using two Ethernet cards. So you can choose either 119 or 120 in etc host in front of GGate 2. Similarly for GGate 1, you need to get it from GGate 1 and update it accordingly. So I have already updated it, but ensure that the output of IF config and slash etc slash host should match. So vi slash etc slash host. So I'll update for GGate 2 as well. 117 and 120. So, and you can check IF config, means I have changed based on IF config only. It's 117. You can use any of the two, 117 or 118, whatever you want. Ensure that etc host output is same on GGate 1 and GGate 2, and ensure that it matches with IF config output. Okay, so your virtual machines are ready. Just in case if you have to restart your virtual machine, you can use init space 6. Init using root. Init space 6 will restart your machine. If you want to shut down, init space 0 will shut down your machine. If you want to close your machine in current state, click on close and then click on save the machine state. It will close the machine in current state for you. Now these virtual boxes already have your database binaries present. Database binaries are already present, but you need to create the database. So to create the database, databases are not created. So go to bin, here run dbca. Okay. Similarly on GGate 2 as well, you can invoke dbca. So it will invoke your database configuration assistant, and then you can create the database using dbca. So if you have any question, you can ask, guys. We'll create the database.
And it is the same process on 19C as well.
Yeah, same process on 19C database, absolutely. So we'll select create a database over here. Then we'll provide, because we are going to create a multi-tenant database. So the database name on GGate 1 we'll choose as OGG DB1. Okay. Password we'll provide welcome1. Okay. And we'll provide the pluggable database name as PDB1. So OGG DB1 is container database name on GGate 1 and PDB1 is pluggable database name. Click on next. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. And then you can finish. So it will take some time. In the same way on GGate 2 as well, you can create the database and it will happen in background then. Create OGG DB2 over here and password and pluggable database name is PDB2. So OGG DB1 is there on source. What it's OGG DB1 is there on source container and OGG DB2 on target. Pluggable name is PDB1 on source and PDB2 on target. And then click on finish. So your database creation will happen and it may take some time to create the database. So these are the tasks you have to do prior to the next session. So set up the lab like virtual boxes, create database GGate 1 and GGate 2 and install GoldenGate on GGate 1 and GGate 2. Okay. Any question from anyone, guys? Okay. So if no question is there, let us wrap up our session for today, guys. Thank you everyone for joining the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Yep.
much.